Self-love is the foundation for every choice, action and change you want in your life. Without truly believing in yourself, it is easy to doubt your decisions, second-guess your abilities, and let fear or other people's opinions control your path. This audiobook is about learning to trust yourself, take control of your thoughts, and make consistent choices that improve your health, mindset, relationships, and daily habits. Imagine waking up each day with confidence in your decisions, clarity about what matters, and the ability to act even when challenges arise. This guide shows you practical steps to strengthen your inner voice, set boundaries that protect your energy, and build routines that support both your body and mind. You will learn how to face fears without hesitation, regulate your emotions under pressure, and celebrate every small win so that growth feels real and motivating. Every chapter is designed to give you tools you can use immediately. You will discover how to stop letting negative thoughts control your mood, how to embrace vulnerability in a way that strengthens connections, and how to set goals that truly align with your values and purpose. The lessons here are not abstract. They are actionable, simple, and designed to fit into your everyday life. By following these steps, you will start to notice changes in how you respond to challenges, how you treat yourself, and how much more energy and clarity you bring into each day. You will learn to sustain growth over the long term by reviewing your progress, adjusting habits that no longer serve you, and celebrating milestones that keep you motivated. This is more than just self-improvement. It is a complete system for believing in yourself and creating the life you want, step by step. By the time you finish listening, you will have a clear, practical framework for transforming your thoughts, your habits, and your actions, and for building the confidence to live intentionally and fully. Stay with this audiobook, and you will see how simple changes in daily practice, mindset, and focus can lead to real, lasting transformation. This is the path to self-love, self-trust, and a life where you are in control of your choices and your growth. Chapter 1. Transform your inner voice by practicing honest self-supportive talk. Your life will always reflect the quality of the conversations you have with yourself. Every thought, every silent sentence that runs through your mind influences the way you feel, the way you act, and the way you respond to challenges. Most people carry an inner voice that criticizes, doubts, or undermines them without even realizing it. They live with constant reminders of where they fall short, what they cannot do, and why they are not enough. This voice often repeats messages that were picked up long ago, words from parents, teachers, or society that became ingrained beliefs. Over time, these beliefs turn into a filter that shapes the way a person sees themselves. If your inner voice is filled with harsh judgment, you begin to live with hesitation, fear, and lack of confidence. But if you transform that voice into one that is honest, kind, and supportive, your entire life changes. The first step in this transformation is awareness. Many people go through their days without paying attention to the tone of their inner dialogue. They notice their emotions, stress, anxiety, insecurity, but they do not stop to ask what they are telling themselves that fuels these emotions. To develop self-love, you must bring attention to the conversations inside your own mind. Start by noticing when you speak to yourself with criticism. Do you tell yourself you are too slow, too weak, or not smart enough? Do you replay mistakes repeatedly, reminding yourself of failure? Awareness of these patterns is not about judgment. It is about shining a light on them so you can begin the work of change. Once awareness is built, honesty becomes essential. Self-love is not about blind positivity or pretending that everything is perfect. It is about speaking truth to yourself in a way that lifts you up instead of tearing you down. When you make a mistake, an honest and self-supportive voice does not say, "I am worthless." It says, "I made a mistake, and I can learn from it." When you face a challenge, An honest voice does not say, "I will never succeed." It says, "This is difficult, but I have the strength to try." Honesty allows you to acknowledge reality while also reminding yourself of your ability to grow, adapt, and improve. Many people believe that being hard on themselves keeps them disciplined, but harshness often creates fear instead of strength. The truth is that people flourish in environments of encouragement. Think of how children thrive when parents show belief in their potential. Adults are no different. If your inner voice supports you rather than punishes you, you build resilience instead of avoidance. You begin to take risks, pursue opportunities, and recover faster from setbacks. You stop fearing mistakes because your inner voice reminds you that you are capable of handling them. To put this into practice, begin by reframing your self-talk. The next time you catch yourself thinking something negative, pause and ask, is this statement completely true, or am I exaggerating? For example, if you say to yourself, "I always fail," challenge that thought by recalling times you succeeded. Replace it with a statement that is both true and supportive, such as, "I have faced difficulties before, and I have overcome them." This practice does not mean ignoring reality. It means grounding yourself in truth while encouraging progress. Another practical step is to adopt the same language you would use with someone you care about deeply. Imagine a close friend tells you they feel inadequate. Would you tell them they are worthless? Of course not. You would remind them of their strengths, encourage them to keep going, and help them see their value. Apply that same compassion to yourself. Treat yourself with the same respect you extend to others. This shift in tone has an immediate effect on your energy, motivation, and self-belief. A simple daily exercise can strengthen this practice. Each morning, look at yourself in the mirror and say one supportive statement that is true. It might be, "I am capable of learning new skills," or "I deserve respect from myself and others." Keep the statement grounded in reality, not exaggerated or empty. Over time, these affirmations rewire the way you naturally speak to yourself. They create a habit of honesty, combined with encouragement. Journaling can also play a powerful role. At the end of each day, write down 3 examples of times you spoke to yourself negatively. Next to each example, write a more supportive version of the same thought. If you wrote, "I failed at my presentation," reframe it into, "My presentation did not go as planned, but I learned how to prepare better for next time." By recording these shifts on paper, you train your mind to automatically replace destructive language with constructive language. Honest, self-supportive talk also requires consistency. It is not enough to encourage yourself only when things are going well. The true test comes during setbacks, disappointments, and struggles. That is when the temptation to fall back into self-criticism is strongest. In those moments, remind yourself of your humanity. No one is perfect, and no one gets everything right. Speaking to yourself with compassion during hard times builds resilience that carries into every area of life. As you practice this shift, you will notice a powerful change in how you handle stress. For many people, stress grows because their inner voice magnifies problems. A mistake becomes a disaster. A delay becomes a failure. But when your inner voice is balanced and supportive, you see problems in proportion. You do not ignore them, but you also do not make them bigger than they are. You respond calmly and focus on solutions. This ability to stay grounded under pressure is one of the greatest gifts of self-love. Another benefit is improved relationships. When you develop a supportive inner voice, you project greater confidence and calmness outwardly. You stop seeking validation from others because you have already given it to yourself. You stop reacting defensively to criticism because you know your worth is not determined by external opinions. This balance makes you a stronger partner, friend, and colleague. Others are drawn to people who are centered and confident in themselves. There is also a deeper impact. Transforming your inner voice changes not just how you feel, but how you act. People who believe in themselves pursue goals with greater determination. They push through obstacles because they are not battling self-doubt at every step. They recover from setbacks faster because they do not waste energy beating themselves down. Over time, the accumulation of supportive self-talk builds a life of consistent growth, resilience, and achievement. One way to strengthen this transformation is to practice mindfulness. By sitting quietly and observing your thoughts, you begin to notice patterns in your self-talk. Do not judge the thoughts, simply watch them. When you recognize a harsh or critical pattern, take a slow breath and replace it with a supportive version. Over time, this practice helps you catch negative thoughts before they spiral out of control. It gives you the ability to choose the language you live by, rather than being a victim of old mental habits. It is also important to surround yourself with environments that reinforce supportive self-talk. If you spend time with people who constantly criticize or belittle you, their words can fuel your inner critic. Seek relationships that are uplifting, honest, and respectful. Pay attention to the content you consume, books, media, conversations, and ask whether they encourage a healthy mindset or feed negativity. Your inner voice grows stronger when it is supported by external voices of encouragement and truth. Transformation does not happen overnight. Just as a muscle grows stronger with repeated exercise, your inner voice becomes supportive with repeated practice. There will be times when old patterns resurface. Do not view this as failure. View it as an opportunity to practice again. Each time you replace a harsh thought with a supportive one, you are building mental strength. Over weeks and months, the change becomes natural. This journey also requires patience. Many people expect immediate results and become discouraged when they still hear negative self-talk. Remember that these patterns were built over years, sometimes decades. It takes time to rewrite them. Patience is part of self-love. By allowing yourself the space to grow slowly, you reinforce the very message you are trying to live, that you are worthy of kindness, even from yourself. Honest self-supportive talk also prepares you for bigger challenges in life. When major obstacles appear, illness, loss, failure, you will already have built a habit of resilience. Instead of collapsing under pressure, you will hear an inner voice that says, "This is hard, but I can endure it. I can find a way forward." That inner strength is not just comforting, it is life-changing. It gives you the courage to face difficulties with clarity and determination. As you continue to develop this practice, you will notice that your self-esteem grows naturally. You no longer need to force confidence or pretend to be stronger than you feel. Confidence becomes the natural result of treating yourself with honesty and support. You feel at peace with who you are because your inner voice affirms your worth. You live with greater energy and freedom because you are not weighed down by constant self-criticism. The transformation of your inner voice is one of the most powerful tools you will ever use in life. It does not require money, talent, or luck. It requires awareness, honesty, and practice. Every person has the ability to choose the way they speak to themselves. Every person can decide whether their inner voice will be an enemy or an ally. By choosing honesty combined with support, you create a foundation for self-love that cannot be shaken by external circumstances. The journey of personal growth always begins inside. External achievements, relationships, and opportunities are shaped by the way you see yourself. When you transform your inner voice, you transform the lens through which you experience life. You become more resilient, more compassionate, and more confident. You stop fighting against yourself and begin working with yourself. And that change opens the door to a life of continuous growth and true transformation. This practice is not about perfection, but about progress. Each day, aim to make your inner voice slightly more supportive than it was yesterday. Each time you reframe a harsh thought into an honest and encouraging one, you are building a better future. Over time, the accumulation of these small shifts creates lasting change. You may not notice it day by day, but one day you will look back and realize how far you have come. Your life is shaped not by what others think of you, but by what you say to yourself. When your inner voice becomes your greatest supporter, you carry a source of strength that no one can take away. That strength becomes the foundation for every goal you pursue and every challenge you face. By practicing honest self-supportive talk, you give yourself the most powerful gift possible, the belief that you are capable, resilient, and worthy of love. Chapter 2. Build daily routines that prioritize health, growth, and emotional resilience. The direction of your life is decided by the routines you repeat every single day, and if you want health, growth, and emotional resilience, you must deliberately design habits that move you forward instead of drifting through life without structure. A routine is not about limiting your freedom. It is about creating a foundation that makes progress automatic, so that you do not have to rely only on willpower or random bursts of motivation. When you intentionally build a daily rhythm that strengthens your body, sharpens your mind, and stabilizes your emotions, you protect yourself against stress, distraction, and self-doubt. The first step is to treat your mornings as the starting line of your entire day. What you do in the first hour after waking will often determine your energy, focus, and attitude for the rest of the day. Begin with actions that awaken your body and clear your mind, whether it is stretching, a walk outside, a few minutes of deep breathing, or simply drinking water before reaching for your phone. Small morning choices may feel insignificant, but they send a signal to your brain that you are in control, and this signal carries into the hours that follow. Avoid starting your mornings with chaos or endless scrolling, because that sets you into a reactive state where the world dictates your mood. Once your mornings are grounded, turn to the way you nourish your body. Food is fuel, and if you constantly rely on heavy processed meals, your energy will crash and your emotions will fluctuate wildly. A healthy routine does not require extreme restrictions, but consistent choices that keep you stable. Plan your meals ahead, keep healthier options within reach, and avoid the trap of eating on impulse. By making nutrition a non-negotiable part of your day, you are not only protecting your body, but also reinforcing the belief that you value yourself enough to take care of it. Movement is another essential pillar. Exercise is not only about fitness goals or appearance. It is one of the most reliable ways to release tension and strengthen your resilience. You do not need hours in the gym. Even a short daily practice such as walking, stretching, or bodyweight exercises can dramatically shift your mood and energy. The key is consistency. When movement is built into your day, as naturally as brushing your teeth, your body becomes stronger, your mind becomes sharper, and your emotions become steadier. Each time you move your body, you prove to yourself that you are capable of discipline. Growth must also be part of your routine. Many people go years without investing time into learning, yet expect to improve. A routine that supports growth includes reading, journaling, practicing skills, or engaging in meaningful conversations. Even 10 minutes a day dedicated to deliberate learning compounds into massive progress over time. Choose one area of life you want to improve and dedicate a slice of your routine to it every day. This habit strengthens your sense of purpose and reminds you that you are always capable of becoming more than you were yesterday. Emotional resilience requires intentional practices that calm your nervous system and build inner strength. Life will always bring stress and uncertainty, but if you have rituals that ground you, you will handle difficulties with clarity instead of panic. This may include meditation, writing down your thoughts at the end of the day, or practicing gratitude by recording moments you are thankful for. These small actions train your brain to shift from constant reaction to conscious response. When adversity comes, you will already have the habit of pausing, breathing, and regaining balance. The structure of your day should also include boundaries around distractions. Modern life is filled with constant noise from devices, messages, and notifications that pull your attention in 100 directions. If you do not set rules for when you check messages or social media, your routine will be consumed by interruptions. Protect blocks of focused time where you can work without distraction, and set clear limits for technology use. By taking charge of your attention, you build resilience against external pressure and reclaim hours that would otherwise be lost. Sleep is one of the most underrated parts of a routine. Without enough rest, your health declines, your mood suffers, and your ability to think clearly weakens. Make your evenings a ritual of slowing down, away from screens and stress, so that your body can recover fully. A consistent bedtime and wake time helps regulate your energy and makes it easier to stay disciplined in other areas of life. Many people chase productivity by sacrificing sleep, but the truth is that real growth is only possible when your body and mind are fully recharged. Accountability is another powerful part of routine building. Share your goals with someone you trust, or track your habits in writing so that you can see progress over time. The human mind responds to evidence, and when you see the streak of days you honored your commitments, your confidence grows. If you stumble, use accountability not as punishment, but as a way to remind yourself of your commitment to improvement. Every day is a fresh chance to return to your routine. A daily routine should not be rigid to the point of breaking. It should be strong enough to guide you, but flexible enough to adjust when life requires it. Build a foundation of non-negotiable habits, such as movement, learning, and emotional grounding, and then allow the smaller details to shift if necessary. The goal is progress, not perfection. By designing routines that you can sustain, you create a lifestyle that supports long-term health and resilience instead of a temporary burst of discipline that fades quickly. To strengthen your routine further, connect each habit to a clear reason. If you simply force yourself to exercise without remembering why, you will eventually stop. But if you remind yourself that movement gives you strength, confidence, and emotional stability, the action becomes meaningful. Link your routines to values and long-term vision, and each step will carry greater weight. You are not just drinking water or journaling, you are building the kind of life where health, clarity, and resilience become normal. The real power of a routine is that it frees your mind from constant decision-making. When habits are automatic, you no longer waste energy debating whether to do them. You simply act. This mental freedom allows you to focus on growth and challenges instead of fighting with yourself over basic actions. Over time, your routines become part of your identity. You no longer need to convince yourself that you are disciplined or resilient. You live it every day. As you commit to building daily routines, remember that change is not instant. The first week may feel uncomfortable, the second may feel repetitive, and the third may bring temptation to quit. Push through these stages, because discipline becomes easier once the habits are ingrained. Celebrate small wins along the way, and remind yourself that each day of consistency is another layer of strength added to your foundation. Your life is the result of what you do repeatedly, not what you occasionally attempt. By building daily routines that protect your health, fuel your growth, and reinforce your emotional resilience, you give yourself a structure that supports your best self. Instead of waiting for inspiration or luck, you create conditions where success becomes inevitable. The routines you practice today will shape the future you experience tomorrow, and the choice is always in your hands. This is the path to building a life of balance and progress. You do not need dramatic transformations overnight. You need deliberate, consistent actions that keep you aligned with your values and goals. When you wake with purpose, move with discipline, grow with intention, and rest with respect for your body, you become unstoppable. Your routines become a quiet yet unshakable source of strength, carrying you through difficulties and keeping you on the path of continuous improvement. Chapter 3. Claim your boundaries by saying no clearly and respectfully. Strength begins the moment you decide that your time, your energy, and your peace are worth protecting, and the most powerful way to do this is by learning how to say no clearly and respectfully. Too many people spend their lives overloaded, exhausted, and resentful because they believe they must agree to every request that comes their way. They fear disappointing others, they fear being seen as selfish, and they fear conflict, but the cost of always saying yes is the slow erosion of self-respect, and without boundaries you lose the ability to focus on what truly matters to you. Saying no is not an act of hostility, it is an act of self-preservation. Every time you agree to something you do not want or cannot handle, you are taking away energy that could have gone toward your own goals, your own growth, or the people who truly deserve your presence. Boundaries are not walls that shut others out. They are lines that define what is acceptable and what is not. They are reminders to yourself and to others that you value your time, your health, and your priorities. One of the biggest misconceptions about boundaries is that they harm relationships. In reality, the opposite is true. Relationships without boundaries become heavy with resentment and imbalance. When you always say yes, even when you want to say no, you begin to feel taken advantage of, even if the other person never intended it. Healthy boundaries create respect on both sides. When you say no firmly but kindly, you teach others how to treat you, and you also set an example that encourages them to respect their own limits as well. The first step to claiming your boundaries is clarity. You cannot communicate limits if you are unsure of them yourself. Take time to reflect on what matters most to you, where you often feel drained, and what situations leave you feeling uncomfortable or disrespected. Maybe you realize you cannot commit to extra work projects after hours, or you notice that certain conversations always leave you emotionally exhausted. Boundaries must begin with awareness of what costs you peace and what protects it. Once you know your limits, the next step is communication. Many people hesitate to express boundaries because they believe they must justify themselves with long explanations or apologies. But the truth is that a simple, respectful no is enough. You do not need to defend your decision or convince someone else of its validity. Clarity and kindness are stronger than excuses. For example, instead of saying, "I'm sorry, I can't help because I have so much going on," you can simply say, "I can't commit to that right now, but I appreciate you asking." Learning to deliver your no with confidence requires practice. Start with small situations where the stakes are low. Decline an invitation you do not want to attend, or refuse a request for a minor favor that does not align with your priorities. Each time you say no clearly, you strengthen the muscle of self-respect. Over time, you become comfortable expressing boundaries in more challenging situations without guilt or hesitation. Respectful boundaries do not require aggression. Tone and body language matter as much as words. A calm voice, steady eye contact, and direct language communicate firmness without hostility. When you remain grounded, others are more likely to accept your decision without resistance. People often mirror the energy you bring to a conversation. If you deliver your no with calm confidence, you encourage others to respond in the same way. Boundaries are not only about what you refuse, but also about what you allow. Saying no clears space for what truly deserves a yes. When you stop scattering your energy on things that do not align with your values, you create room for deeper commitments, meaningful relationships, and personal growth. Saying no to distractions means saying yes to focus. Saying no to toxic interactions means saying yes to peace of mind. Saying no to overcommitment means saying yes to rest and renewal. Of course, not everyone will welcome your boundaries. Some people benefit from your constant yes, and when you begin to change, they may resist or criticize you. This is natural, and it is not a sign that you are wrong. In fact, pushback often confirms that you are finally valuing yourself. Remember that their reaction is not your responsibility. Your responsibility is to protect your well-being and remain consistent. Over time, people either adapt to your boundaries or reveal that they only valued you when you were available at their expense. Both outcomes give you clarity. To strengthen your ability to set boundaries, remind yourself of the long-term consequences of living without them. When you avoid saying no, you invite stress, resentment, and burnout. You lose time for your own goals. You weaken your self-trust, and you teach others that your needs do not matter. Each time you hesitate to say no, ask yourself what the cost will be if you say yes. Will it drain your energy? Will it distract you from something important? Will it harm your peace? If the cost is too high, the answer must be no. A useful practice is to create a personal rulebook for your life. Decide in advance what you will and will not accept. For example, you may commit to never working on weekends or to limiting social events to what brings you joy. These rules free you from on-the-spot decision fatigue. When someone makes a request, you do not have to wrestle with guilt or uncertainty. You simply follow the boundaries you have already set. Boundaries also apply to your internal habits. It is not only about saying no to others, but also saying no to yourself when you are tempted to sabotage your progress. Saying no to procrastination, to unhealthy behaviors, or to destructive thoughts is equally important. Self-respect is built by honoring your own standards, not only by managing external requests. Each time you deny yourself a harmful habit, you are reinforcing your commitment to growth. The strength of your boundaries directly influences your emotional resilience. Life will always bring demands, challenges, and unexpected pressures. Without boundaries, you are constantly vulnerable to being overwhelmed by others' needs and expectations. With boundaries, you develop the ability to navigate challenges without losing yourself. You may still face stress, but you know where to draw the line, and that clarity brings peace. It is important to remember that saying no is not rejection of people, but a protection of priorities. You can care about others deeply while still refusing requests that go against your well-being. In fact, boundaries often strengthen relationships because they are built on honesty rather than silent resentment. People who truly respect you will value your clarity, even if they do not always get the answer they want. With time and practice, boundaries become natural. What once felt uncomfortable becomes a normal part of your communication. You no longer apologize for protecting your time. You no longer fear disappointing others, and you no longer sacrifice yourself to please everyone. Instead, you live with balance, respect, and confidence. The freedom that comes from being able to say no is one of the greatest gifts you can give yourself. Every time you claim your boundaries, you are affirming that your life matters. You are declaring that your time is valuable, your energy is important, and your peace is worth defending. Boundaries are not selfish, they are essential to living with integrity and purpose. By learning to say no clearly and respectfully, you give yourself the power to live authentically, to focus on what matters most, and to grow stronger with each decision you make. Chapter 4. Cultivate gratitude through short daily lists of real achievements. Gratitude is the foundation that transforms ordinary days into meaningful experiences, and when you choose to acknowledge even the smallest of your achievements, you train your mind to recognize growth instead of lack. Most people wait for huge milestones to feel proud of themselves, but real strength comes from noticing the quiet victories that happen each day. Writing a short list of these wins may sound simple, but it is a practice that reshapes your inner perspective, bringing stability, joy, and self-respect. The human mind has a tendency to focus on what is missing, on what did not go well, or on how far away the goal still feels. That constant comparison drains motivation. By pausing each day to record genuine progress, you shift the focus back to your effort, discipline, and resilience. This small act is not about pretending life is perfect. It is about teaching yourself to see reality in balance, not distorted by negativity. Think of the power of recognizing achievements that many people dismiss. You woke up earlier than usual. You cooked a healthy meal instead of skipping. You made an uncomfortable phone call you had been avoiding. You resisted the urge to waste an hour scrolling online and instead read a few pages of a book. These may not earn applause from the world, but they are the stepping stones that shape character and consistency. When you write them down, you remind yourself that growth is happening, even if slowly, and that you are capable of steering your own progress. This practice also protects you from the trap of perfectionism. Without reflection, achievements can easily be forgotten, and the mind insists you have not done enough. When you keep a daily record, you can look back and see how much ground you have covered. A single page filled with small wins carries more weight than a vague memory of struggle. You can trace patterns, notice strengths, and identify areas that still need focus. Over time, this builds confidence, not by accident, but through evidence. You are literally training your brain to notice and respect your own effort. The act itself should be simple. Keep a notebook or a sheet of paper where you write 3 to 5 things you accomplished that day. Do not overthink or polish them to impress yourself. The power lies in honesty. If you finished your daily walk, write it down. If you stayed calm in a situation where you used to react harshly, write it down. If you kept your word to call a friend, include it. These are real markers of progress. Do not skip writing just because the achievements seem small. In fact, the smaller and more personal they are, the more meaningful this practice becomes. You are teaching yourself to respect the consistent efforts that shape a stable, fulfilled life. This exercise strengthens emotional resilience because it shifts attention away from failure and discouragement. When a tough day comes, your list proves that you have handled challenges before and can do it again. Instead of drowning in the thought that nothing works out, you have written evidence that you have succeeded countless times. The weight of setbacks decreases when you train yourself to see them as temporary compared to the long chain of progress you have already built. Gratitude creates a shield against despair. It reminds you that even when life feels difficult, you have skills, habits, and persistence to lean on. Another benefit of writing daily gratitude for achievements is the way it changes how you treat yourself. Most people are quick to celebrate others, but withhold kindness from themselves. They downplay their own progress as unimportant. But when you consistently give yourself credit, you create a healthier relationship with your own efforts. This is not arrogance, it is fairness. You are learning to measure your life by the effort you bring, not by impossible standards or comparisons to others. This mindset fuels persistence, because when you respect your own work, you naturally feel motivated to keep going. Practical application is simple. Choose a time each evening before bed to pause and write. Keep it short, no more than 5 minutes. The key is consistency, not perfection. Over time, this ritual becomes as natural as brushing your teeth. You may start to notice the effect during your day. You will look for achievements worth writing down, and this will push you to make better choices. Instead of ending the day feeling defeated, you will actively search for moments you can be proud of. That shift in awareness changes how you move through daily life. This practice also connects you more deeply to gratitude. Gratitude is not only about appreciating what others do for you, but also recognizing your own contributions. You begin to see your life not as something happening to you, but as something you are actively shaping. That recognition fuels dignity and self-worth. You stop waiting for validation from outside and start giving it to yourself, which is far more reliable and empowering. There will be days when writing your list feels difficult. You may feel that you achieved nothing. On those days, the discipline of the practice matters most. If all you can write is that you survived the day, kept breathing, or showed up when you wanted to give up, then write that down. These moments are often the most important to record because they show you that even in weakness you did not collapse. Over time, you will notice that those empty days were not wasted at all. They built resilience, patience, and endurance. It is also powerful to revisit your lists weekly or monthly. Read through them and notice the recurring themes. Perhaps you consistently wrote about exercising, keeping promises, or speaking kindly. Those repetitions reveal what you value and what you are steadily strengthening. This kind of reflection gives direction for future growth. You can see where you have become consistent and where you need more focus. It is a practical way to measure your journey without relying on vague feelings. Some people may feel that this practice is unnecessary or too simple, but simplicity is exactly why it works. Human nature often seeks complex solutions, while ignoring the small habits that actually bring change. Writing daily gratitude for your achievements costs nothing, requires little time, and delivers lasting benefits. It sharpens focus, builds confidence, and grounds you in reality. The difference between someone who feels progress and someone who feels stuck often comes down to awareness. By writing your progress daily, you are making awareness your ally. The wisdom behind this practice aligns with ancient Stoic thought. The Stoics taught that the only thing we truly control is our own actions and responses. By writing down your achievements, you honor those actions. You recognize that fulfillment does not come from outside approval but from the way you live each day. This mindset gives strength to face challenges without being crushed by them. When you measure life by effort and integrity, you carry stability within yourself, independent of circumstance. Imagine the person you become after months of doing this. You no longer underestimate yourself. You face difficulties with calm strength because you know from your own record that you can persist. You no longer search desperately for praise because you have already validated yourself daily. This is the quiet power of gratitude. It shapes the way you see yourself, and by extension the way you live. Begin today with a pen and paper. Write down what you have done well. Honor your progress without excuses. Be honest, be consistent, and be willing to recognize your effort. Over time, these short daily lists will not just change how you feel about your days, they will transform how you feel about yourself. Gratitude, practiced this way, is not an abstract idea, but a practical tool for building a stronger, calmer, and more fulfilled life. It is one of the simplest disciplines, yet one of the most powerful paths toward genuine growth and lasting self-respect. Gratitude is the foundation that transforms ordinary days into meaningful experiences, and when you choose to acknowledge even the smallest of your achievements, you train your mind to recognize growth instead of lack. Most people wait for huge milestones to feel proud of themselves, but real strength comes from noticing the quiet victories that happen each day. Writing a short list of these wins may sound simple, but it is a practice that reshapes your inner perspective, bringing stability, joy, and self-respect. The human mind has a tendency to focus on what is missing, on what did not go well, or on how far away the goal still feels. That constant comparison drains motivation. By pausing each day to record genuine progress, you shift the focus back to your effort, discipline, and resilience. This small act is not about pretending life is perfect. It is about teaching yourself to see reality in balance, not distorted by negativity. Think of the power of recognizing achievements that many people dismiss. You woke up earlier than usual. You cooked a healthy meal instead of skipping. You made an uncomfortable phone call you had been avoiding. You resisted the urge to waste an hour scrolling online and instead read a few pages of a book. These may not earn applause from the world, but they are the stepping stones that shape character and consistency. When you write them down, you remind yourself that growth is happening, even if slowly, and that you are capable of steering your own progress. This practice also protects you from the trap of perfectionism. Without reflection, achievements can easily be forgotten, and the mind insists you have not done enough. When you keep a daily record, you can look back and see how much ground you have covered. A single page, filled with small wins, carries more weight than a vague memory of struggle. You can trace patterns, notice strengths, and identify areas that still need focus. Over time, this builds confidence not by accident, but through evidence. You are literally training your brain to notice and respect your own effort. The act itself should be simple. Keep a notebook or a sheet of paper where you write 3 to 5 things you accomplished that day. Do not overthink or polish them to impress yourself. The power lies in honesty. If you finished your daily walk, write it down. If you stayed calm in a situation where you used to react harshly, write it down. If you kept your word to call a friend, include it. These are real markers of progress. Do not skip writing just because the achievement seems small. In fact, the smaller and more personal they are, the more meaningful this practice becomes. You are teaching yourself to respect the consistent efforts that shape a stable, fulfilled life. This exercise strengthens emotional resilience because it shifts attention away from failure and discouragement. When a tough day comes, your list proves that you have handled challenges before and can do it again. Instead of drowning in the thought that nothing works out, you have written evidence that you have succeeded countless times. The weight of setbacks decreases when you train yourself to see them as temporary compared to the long chain of progress you have already built. Gratitude creates a shield against despair. It reminds you that even when life feels difficult, you have skills, habits, and persistence to lean on. Another benefit of writing daily gratitude for achievements is the way it changes how you treat yourself. Most people are quick to celebrate others, but withhold kindness from themselves. They downplay their own progress as unimportant. But when you consistently give yourself credit, you create a healthier relationship with your own efforts. This is not arrogance, it is fairness. You are learning to measure your life by the effort you bring, not by impossible standards or comparisons to others. This mindset fuels persistence, because when you respect your own work, you naturally feel motivated to keep going. Practical application is simple. Choose a time each evening before bed to pause and write. Keep it short, no more than 5 minutes. The key is consistency, not perfection. Over time, this ritual becomes as natural as brushing your teeth. You may start to notice the effect during your day. You will look for achievements worth writing down, and this will push you to make better choices. Instead of ending the day feeling defeated, you will actively search for moments you can be proud of. That shift in awareness changes how you move through daily life. This practice also connects you more deeply to gratitude. Gratitude is not only about appreciating what others do for you, but also recognizing your own contributions. You begin to see your life not as something happening to you, but as something you are actively shaping. That recognition fuels dignity and self-worth. You stop waiting for validation from outside and start giving it to yourself, which is far more reliable and empowering. There will be days when writing your list feels difficult. You may feel that you achieved nothing. On those days, the discipline of the practice matters most. If all you can write is that you survived the day, kept breathing, or showed up when you wanted to give up, then write that down. These moments are often the most important to record because they show you that even in weakness, you did not collapse. Over time, you will notice that those empty days were not wasted at all. They built resilience, patience, and endurance. It is also powerful to revisit your lists weekly or monthly. Read through them and notice the recurring themes. Perhaps you consistently wrote about exercising, keeping promises, or speaking kindly. Those repetitions reveal what you value and what you are steadily strengthening. This kind of reflection gives direction for future growth. You can see where you have become consistent and where you need more focus. It is a practical way to measure your journey without relying on vague feelings. Some people may feel that this practice is unnecessary or too simple, but simplicity is exactly why it works. Human nature often seeks complex solutions while ignoring the small habits that actually bring change. Writing daily gratitude for your achievements costs nothing, requires little time, and delivers lasting benefits. It sharpens focus, builds confidence, and grounds you in reality. The difference between someone who feels progress and someone who feels stuck often comes down to awareness. By writing your progress daily, you are making awareness your ally. The wisdom behind this practice aligns with ancient Stoic thought. The Stoics taught that the only thing we truly control is our own actions and responses. By writing down your achievements, you honor those actions. You recognize that fulfillment does not come from outside approval, but from the way you live each day. This mindset gives strength to face challenges without being crushed by them. When you measure life by effort and integrity, you carry stability within yourself, independent of circumstance. Imagine the person you become after months of doing this. You no longer underestimate yourself. You face difficulties with calm strength, because you know from your own record that you can persist. You no longer search desperately for praise because you have already validated yourself daily. This is the quiet power of gratitude. It shapes the way you see yourself and by extension the way you live. Begin today with a pen and paper. Write down what you have done well. Honor your progress without excuses. Be honest, be consistent, and be willing to recognize your effort. Over time, these short daily lists will not just change how you feel about your days, they will transform how you feel about yourself. Gratitude practiced this way is not an abstract idea, but a practical tool for building a stronger, calmer, and more fulfilled life. It is one of the simplest disciplines, yet one of the most powerful paths toward genuine growth and lasting self-respect. Chapter 5. Embrace vulnerability to deepen connection with yourself and others. True strength is found not in hiding your emotions, but in allowing yourself to be seen as you really are, because vulnerability is the doorway to authentic connection and lasting growth. Many people spend years wearing masks to protect themselves from judgment or rejection, but that constant guarding of the heart creates distance both within and with others. When you deny your own vulnerability, you also deny yourself the chance to be fully understood and accepted. Learning to embrace it is not weakness, it is courage in its purest form. It requires you to step into honesty, to admit that you are human, and to open the possibility of being cared for, not because of your perfection, but because of your truth. When you allow yourself to be vulnerable, you begin to experience a deeper connection with your own inner life. Most individuals are skilled at suppressing feelings, convincing themselves to stay busy or distracted rather than face what hurts. But that avoidance builds invisible walls inside the mind. Vulnerability breaks those walls down by creating space to acknowledge fear, sadness, uncertainty, and even hope. The moment you can admit to yourself that you are afraid, that you have doubts, or that you need help, you begin to step closer to self-acceptance. Instead of fighting your reality, you start to live in alignment with it. This acceptance releases tension and allows clarity to enter. Vulnerability also transforms relationships. People crave honesty, yet most interactions remain surface level because both sides are afraid to reveal too much. When you take the first step and express your real feelings, you create a bridge of trust. You give others permission to do the same. Suddenly, conversations stop being filled with rehearsed answers and start carrying meaning. You learn who truly values you, not just for your strengths, but for your imperfections. This creates bonds that are not fragile because they are based on truth. It takes courage to admit I am struggling, or I don't know what to do, but those moments allow others to show up with support, guidance, and care. The habit of hiding may feel safer, but it actually isolates you. Vulnerability, though uncomfortable, expands your world. It lets you discover who is willing to walk with you in both light and dark moments. It also frees you from the exhausting performance of appearing flawless. When you stop pretending to have it all together, you gain freedom. The energy once spent maintaining an image is now available for growth, creativity, and connection. You do not need to be unbreakable to be respected. What earns respect is honesty, resilience, and the willingness to grow openly. The practice of embracing vulnerability starts with small acts of honesty. Begin with yourself by admitting what you truly feel without judgment. If you are anxious, acknowledge it instead of covering it with forced positivity. If you feel unprepared, say so, and then take steps to learn. This internal honesty creates strength because it removes denial. With others, start by sharing experiences instead of polished outcomes. Say when you need support. Express gratitude for help without shame. You will find that openness does not push people away. It often draws them closer. In professional or personal settings, vulnerability can be a catalyst for respect and cooperation. A leader who admits not having all the answers but shows commitment to learning builds trust far faster than one who pretends to know everything. A friend who admits loneliness invites genuine companionship, while one who hides it remains isolated. A parent who admits mistakes teaches children that growth comes through humility, not perfection. Every context in life benefits from this practice, because vulnerability is a universal language of authenticity. Some may fear that vulnerability will make them targets for criticism. The truth is, criticism will always exist. Pretending to be perfect will not shield you from it. What matters is that by embracing vulnerability, you build resilience. Criticism hurts less when you no longer depend on external approval to define your worth. You begin to realize that people's opinions are reflections of their own perspective, not absolute truth about who you are. Vulnerability, therefore, is not about seeking pity or validation. It is about being honest while staying grounded in self-respect. This practice also reduces the weight of shame. Shame thrives in secrecy. When you hide your struggles, you give them more power over you. But when you bring them into the open, even in small, safe ways, shame loses its grip. Talking about what you fear or regret may feel uncomfortable at first, but over time it brings relief. You realize you are not alone in your experience. Others have faced similar challenges, and by sharing, you open the door to collective wisdom and empathy. To cultivate vulnerability, you must practice self-compassion. If you judge yourself harshly whenever you admit weakness, you will never allow yourself to open up. Instead, remind yourself that imperfection is part of being human. Growth requires trial, error, and humility. When you can treat yourself with kindness in moments of failure, you build the strength to remain open instead of shutting down. Self-compassion turns vulnerability into a powerful tool for growth instead of a source of fear. Daily life provides endless opportunities to practice this discipline. If someone asks how you are doing, answer with more than a shallow response. If you feel uncertain in a task, voice it and ask for guidance. If you admire someone, tell them directly instead of holding it back. If you feel hurt, express it respectfully instead of burying it. Each of these actions deepens connection because they are real. They create space for honesty and eliminate the distance created by pretense. Over time, vulnerability also strengthens your confidence. At first, it feels like exposure, but as you practice, you realize that showing your truth does not destroy you, it empowers you. You become less afraid of rejection because you see that even when people do not respond as you hoped, you remain intact. The fear of being seen loses its control. You develop a quiet assurance that comes from living authentically. This assurance cannot be shaken by disapproval because it is rooted in honesty rather than image. Think of the impact this practice could have on your life. Imagine relationships filled with trust because you are not hiding. Imagine the relief of no longer carrying unspoken burdens. Imagine the personal freedom of not needing to prove your worth through perfection. Vulnerability gives you access to all of these. It is the courage to say, "I am human, and that is enough." From that foundation, growth becomes steady and real. The discipline of vulnerability is not about exposing every detail of your life to everyone. It is about discernment, choosing safe and meaningful places to be honest, and choosing the right people to trust. It is not reckless openness, but intentional authenticity. This distinction matters because vulnerability without boundaries can lead to harm, but vulnerability practiced with wisdom builds unshakable strength. When you embrace vulnerability, you live in alignment with reality, you connect more deeply with others, and you discover freedom within yourself. The walls that once kept you safe dissolve, and in their place you find connection, growth, and clarity. It is one of the most courageous choices you can make, because it requires you to trust both yourself and the process of life. And as you continue this practice, you will find that the moments you once feared, moments of honesty, imperfection, and exposure, become the very moments that shape the strongest and most meaningful version of yourself. Chapter 6. Choose goals that match values, purpose, and long-term vision. Success without alignment feels empty, but when your goals match your values and long-term vision, every step you take carries meaning, strength, and purpose. Too many people chase what others expect of them, running after achievements that look impressive but leave them unfulfilled inside. The truth is, goals without a foundation of values are fragile, and when difficulties arise, they collapse, because there is no deeper reason to keep going. Real direction begins when you stop asking what looks good to others and start asking what feels right for your own life. That shift creates energy that does not burn out quickly because it comes from the deepest part of who you are. Choosing goals aligned with your values begins with clarity. You must first understand what you truly care about. Values are not just abstract words. They are the principles that guide your decisions and reflect what kind of life you want to live. For some, it might be honesty, family, growth, or service. For others, it may be independence, learning, or contribution. Once you define these core principles, you can measure every goal against them. If a goal fits, it stays. If it does not, no matter how tempting, you let it go. This discipline saves years of wasted effort on paths that do not belong to you. Purpose strengthens this process. Goals are immediate targets, but purpose is the broader reason you pursue them. Without purpose, goals become tasks that lose meaning once checked off a list. With purpose, every achievement builds towards something larger. For example, if your purpose is to live a life of health, a goal like exercising daily is not just about fitness, it is about fulfilling the larger vision of being strong enough to enjoy your years fully. If your purpose is to empower others, a goal like developing leadership skills is not just a career move, it is an expression of your deeper calling. A long-term vision ties it all together. Vision is the picture of your life years from now. If you stay true to your values and purpose, it is not fantasy, it is direction. When you have that image, you can break it into practical goals. Without vision, goals often compete against each other or drift aimlessly. With vision, every decision builds a consistent future. It becomes easier to say no to distractions because you know exactly where you are headed. Vision brings stability during uncertainty because it reminds you that temporary struggles are part of a much larger journey. Practical action is necessary to bring this alignment into reality. Begin by writing your values clearly and without confusion. Then describe your purpose in a sentence that feels true. Finally, create a vision statement that reflects where you want to be in 10 or 20 years. Once this foundation is clear, you can set specific goals. Every goal should meet 3 tests. It must reflect your values, serve your purpose, and move you closer to your vision. If it fails even one test, it is not worth your time. Daily discipline keeps you aligned. When you review your goals regularly, you make sure they are not drifting away from your true direction. Life will present opportunities that look attractive but are misaligned. In those moments, alignment becomes your shield. You remember that chasing what is not yours leads to frustration, while staying loyal to your purpose builds real satisfaction. Discipline is not about being rigid. It is about staying true to yourself when outside pressures try to pull you away. Emotional fulfillment grows naturally when goals align with values. Imagine the peace of knowing that every action, even small ones, are expressions of who you really are. You stop living within a conflict, and your confidence grows because you are not faking progress. You are living authentically. Even when progress is slow, you feel proud because you know it is leading somewhere meaningful. This pride is not arrogance. It is the quiet strength of living a life in harmony with your deepest truths. In relationships, alignment prevents regret. Many people sacrifice personal values to meet external expectations, only to look back years later with disappointment. But when you choose goals based on your values, you build relationships and careers that actually satisfy you. You spend time with people who respect your principles, not those who pressure you to betray them. You create a lifestyle that reflects your true priorities instead of being shaped by fear or comparison. This is how alignment not only improves your future, but also protects your present. Another strength of this approach is resilience. Challenges are inevitable, but when your goals reflect your values and vision, you endure because the struggle is worth it. If your goal is only for appearance or approval, setbacks will break your motivation. But if your goal is tied to purpose, setbacks only become lessons. You continue moving forward because you are not working for applause. You are working for something deeper that sustains you. It is important to remember that alignment requires constant attention. Values may remain steady, but your understanding of them may deepen with age. Vision can evolve as you grow. Purpose may refine as you experience new challenges. This is not weakness, it is wisdom. By adjusting your goals to match your growing clarity, you ensure that your life remains honest, Stubbornly holding on to goals that no longer fit is as harmful as having no goals at all. Flexibility with alignment keeps your growth genuine and your journey alive. Practical exercises can make this process clearer. One method is to ask yourself daily whether your actions reflect your values. Another is to review your weekly schedule and see if your time is spent on what serves your vision. If you find major gaps, that is a sign to realign. Small corrections made consistently keep you from drifting too far. Over time, these corrections create a life where your choices and your inner truth are no longer in conflict. The discipline of choosing aligned goals also saves you from comparison. When you are grounded in your own purpose, you no longer measure your progress against someone else's path. You stop feeling behind because you realize you are not in their race. You are moving toward your vision, not theirs. This freedom from comparison is one of the greatest rewards of alignment. It gives you peace, focus, and the strength to celebrate others without losing sight of yourself. Imagine the power of living a decade guided by aligned goals. Your health reflects your values, your relationships reflect your purpose, and your work reflects your vision. Even when life shifts, you remain steady because you know what matters most. Each achievement builds not just external success, but internal fulfillment. This is the kind of life that brings both satisfaction and resilience. It is not built overnight, but through daily choices that honor your truth. Now is the moment to begin. Clarify what you value, commit to your purpose, and design your vision. Then set goals that pass the test of alignment. Protect them from distraction, nurture them with discipline, and let them evolve as you grow. In doing so, you will not just achieve success, you will achieve the right kind of success, the kind that leaves you proud, fulfilled, and at peace with the life you have built. This is the reward of choosing goals that truly belong to you. Chapter 7. Release limiting beliefs by testing them with small, brave actions. The beliefs you carry shape the limits of your life, and the only way to break free is by proving those limits wrong through bold but manageable actions. Many people live trapped by the thoughts they accepted years ago, thoughts like "I am not capable," "I am too old," "I am not smart enough," or "things never work out for me." These are not facts, but beliefs, and they gain power only because they are left unchallenged. The moment you test them, you begin to see how fragile they really are. Fear thrives in the unknown, but action brings clarity, and clarity dissolves fear. Limiting beliefs often disguise themselves as safety. They convince you that avoiding risk protects you from failure. But in truth, these beliefs keep you stuck in the same routines that rob you of growth and opportunity. When you decide to take a small step against them, even something as simple as starting a conversation, applying for a role you doubted you could get, or sharing your ideas openly, you begin to weaken the chains they hold over you. The size of the action does not matter at first. It is the courage to act that matters. When you act despite doubt, you gather evidence that your belief may not be true. For example, someone who believes they are terrible at public speaking may start by speaking up in a small group. Even if it feels uncomfortable, they often discover that others listen with respect and encouragement. That single moment creates a crack in the belief. With each repeated action, the crack widens until the belief has no foundation left. This is the process of transformation, not through theory, but through experience. The beauty of small, brave actions is that they reduce the overwhelming pressure of change. You do not need to conquer your deepest fears overnight. You only need to take one action that challenges them. If you fear rejection, introduce yourself to one new person. If you fear failure, try one project where the stakes are low. If you believe you are not creative, set aside 10 minutes to write, draw, or build something without judgment. These steps may seem minor, but each one shifts your identity. You begin to see yourself not as someone limited, but as someone capable of growth. This process requires honesty. To release limiting beliefs, you must first identify them. Pay attention to the thoughts that stop you when opportunities appear. Notice the excuses you repeat. These often reveal where your limits are self-imposed. Instead of arguing with these beliefs in your head, write them down. Then design an action that directly challenges each one. If you believe I cannot lead, then volunteer to organize a small group task. If you believe I always fail, then commit to completing something small and track your progress until it is finished. Each completed action sends a powerful message to your mind. This belief does not define me. The resistance you feel before taking action is part of the test. Your body may tense, your mind may scream warnings, and your heart may race. But this is not danger, it is growth. The discomfort is evidence that you are stepping into a new space. If you wait until you feel no fear, you will wait forever. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is the willingness to act even with fear present. Over time, the same actions that once terrified you become normal, and your belief system adjusts to your new reality. It is also important to track your wins. Human beings often remember failures more vividly than successes, which can reinforce negative beliefs. By writing down each action you took and what you learned, you create a record of progress. Even if the outcome was not perfect, you can celebrate the fact that you acted. Over time, this record becomes undeniable proof that you are capable of more than your old beliefs allowed. When doubt returns, you have evidence to fight it with. Releasing limiting beliefs through action also influences how others see you. People around you notice when you step out of your old patterns. They respond to your courage, respect your effort, and sometimes even get inspired to test their own limits. This creates a cycle of growth, not only for you but also for your environment. As you change, you attract opportunities and connections that were hidden before, because your actions show the world that you are ready for them. Another strength of this approach is that it builds momentum. The first brave action is often the hardest, but once it is done, the second feels slightly easier. The third becomes more natural, and soon your confidence grows because you no longer rely on imagination, you rely on experience. Momentum is built through consistency, not through waiting for the right moment. Each action becomes a stepping stone that lifts you higher than the belief that once kept you small. You must also prepare for setbacks. Not every action will go perfectly, and sometimes the result may reinforce your old doubts. But this does not mean the belief is true. It means growth takes practice. Failure is part of the process, and the key is to view it as feedback, not as confirmation of limitation. Ask yourself what you can learn, adjust your approach, and try again. Over time, even setbacks strengthen you, because they prove that you can endure difficulty without breaking. Limiting beliefs lose their power when you realize they are not facts, but habits of thought. Every habit can be replaced with a stronger one. By repeatedly taking small actions that disprove your doubts, you train your mind to expect success instead of failure, courage instead of fear, and progress instead of stagnation. This mental shift does not happen through wishing, it happens through doing. As your beliefs change, so does your identity. You no longer see yourself as the person who cannot, but as the person who tries, learns, and grows. This identity change is the ultimate freedom because it gives you control over how you respond to life. You stop being the prisoner of your past and start being the designer of your future. Every small action is a brick in the foundation of this new identity. Imagine what becomes possible when you no longer let false limits guide your choices. You can pursue opportunities you once thought were beyond you. You can build relationships you once feared. You can create a lifestyle that reflects courage instead of hesitation. The life you want is not blocked by reality. It is blocked by beliefs, and every belief can be challenged. Now is the time to test your limits with action. Do not wait for confidence to appear. Confidence grows from doing, and the more you do, the more you prove that nothing can hold you back except the beliefs you accept. Take one action today, however small, that challenges your doubt. Let it be the start of a chain that transforms how you see yourself. By facing limiting beliefs with courage, you unlock a strength that was always inside you, waiting to be awakened. This is how freedom is built, not through waiting, but through acting. Chapter 8. Honor your progress by tracking wins, no matter how small. Your growth becomes real the moment you start noticing it and writing it down, because progress uncelebrated often feels like progress unseen. Too many people move forward in life, but never acknowledge how far they have come, and as a result they stay trapped in the feeling that nothing is changing. If you want to strengthen your belief in yourself, you must learn to honor your wins no matter how small, because those little steps are the building blocks of massive transformation. Tracking progress is not about perfection or comparison with others. It is about giving yourself proof that your efforts matter. Think about the last time you tried something new, maybe exercising, building a habit, or learning a skill. In the beginning it felt difficult, but with time you made small improvements. If you never wrote those improvements down, it would be easy to forget them and believe you made no progress. But when you record them, you create undeniable evidence that you are moving forward. This record becomes a source of strength, especially on days when you doubt yourself. When you track wins, you train your brain to recognize growth instead of focusing only on mistakes. Human nature often exaggerates failures and overlooks achievements. That is why so many people feel stuck, even when they are improving. By recording daily wins, you correct this imbalance. You begin to see yourself not as someone who constantly falls short, but as someone who keeps advancing. Over time, this shift builds confidence that cannot be shaken by temporary setbacks. The size of the win does not matter. It could be drinking more water, finishing a task you avoided, having a difficult conversation, or simply choosing to stay consistent. Every achievement counts, because it represents a moment when you chose growth over comfort. By writing it down, you send a message to your mind that effort matters. You start to value the process rather than chasing only big results. This mindset makes the journey sustainable, because motivation grows when you see progress stacking up each day. A powerful way to honor progress is through a daily journal. At the end of each day, take 5 minutes to write 3 things you did well. They can be big or small, but they must be specific. Instead of writing, "I had a good day," write, "I walked for 20 minutes, I finished my reading goal," or "I handled stress calmly." These details bring clarity and build a picture of steady advancement. Over weeks and months, this journal becomes a timeline of growth, reminding you of how much you are capable of. Another practice is to create a visual tracker. Use a calendar or a habit chart, and mark every day you complete an action aligned with your goals. Each mark may seem small, but as the days add up, you create a chain of consistency that strengthens your belief in yourself. When you see an unbroken streak, you feel motivated to keep going. Even when you miss a day, the visual record reminds you of your resilience and encourages you to restart without shame. It is also important to celebrate your wins in real ways. Give yourself moments of recognition. Say out loud, "I did well today." Share your achievement with a supportive friend. Reward yourself with something that reinforces your growth, like reading time, relaxation, or a healthy treat. These acts of celebration tell your brain that progress brings joy, which motivates you to continue. Too often, people wait for big milestones to celebrate, but true transformation happens when you celebrate the small steps that make those milestones possible. Tracking progress also teaches you patience. When you look at your notes over time, you see that growth is gradual but steady. This prevents the frustration of expecting overnight results. You learn to appreciate that meaningful change takes time and that consistency is more valuable than speed. By reviewing your record, you realize that even when you felt stuck, you were still moving forward. This understanding builds resilience because you no longer quit when results are slow. You trust the process. One of the hidden benefits of honoring your progress is the way it reshapes your self-image. If you see yourself only as someone who struggles, your actions will reflect that belief. But when you consistently track wins, you start to identify as someone who succeeds. This new identity pushes you to take on bigger challenges because you trust yourself to follow through. Identity shapes behavior, and behavior shapes results. By recording victories, you build the identity of a person who grows every day. When challenges appear, your progress record becomes a shield. Doubt will try to convince you that you are not strong enough, smart enough, or disciplined enough. In those moments, you can look back at your record and see the truth. You are capable because you have evidence. Each entry in your journal, each mark on your chart, each celebration you allowed yourself proves that you can handle adversity and continue moving forward. To make this practice powerful, avoid perfectionism. You do not need to track everything or create elaborate systems. Start simple and stay consistent. The goal is not to impress anyone, it is to build awareness of your growth. If you miss a day, do not erase your effort, just start again. This practice also creates gratitude. When you honor small wins, you begin to see how much good already exists in your life. Instead of focusing only on what is missing, you focus on what you have built. This mindset makes you more present, less frustrated, and more open to opportunities. Another layer of this process is sharing your wins with others. When you talk about your progress with supportive people, you strengthen the habit and create accountability. You also inspire others to track their own growth. Think of how different your life feels when you honor progress instead of dismissing it. Instead of saying, "I am not good enough," you say, "I am improving every day." Instead of focusing on failures, you focus on lessons. Your future depends not on one giant leap, but on thousands of small steps. Each step deserves recognition, because without them, transformation cannot happen. When you track your wins, you give yourself permission to be proud, motivated, and consistent. You no longer chase perfection. You honor progress, and progress, no matter how small, is always worth celebrating. Start today. Write down one win from this very moment. Maybe it is choosing to listen to this message. Maybe it is making a decision to grow. Maybe it is the courage to begin again. Whatever it is, record it. Let that first entry be the start of a habit that will change how you see yourself. Honor every step, track every win. Watch your belief in yourself grow stronger than ever. Chapter 9. Strengthen self-trust by keeping promises you make to yourself. The foundation of confidence is not found in external approval, but in the quiet agreement you make with yourself and the discipline to honor it every day. Self-trust is built the same way. Trust is built with another person through consistency, honesty, and follow-through. When you keep the promises you make to yourself, you create an inner strength that cannot be shaken by outside noise. You no longer rely on others to validate your worth, because you have proven through your own actions that your word to yourself matters. Many people struggle with self-doubt, not because they lack ability, but because they have weakened their own trust by breaking promises repeatedly. They say they will wake up early but hit the alarm. They say they will eat healthier but choose the easy option. They say they will finish a project but leave it incomplete. Each time this happens, the message to the mind is clear: you cannot rely on yourself. Over time, this erodes confidence and creates hesitation. But the good news is that trust can be built, and it begins with the smallest commitment honored fully. To strengthen self-trust, you must start small. Choose one simple promise that you know you can keep. It might be drinking a glass of water in the morning, writing a few lines in a journal, or taking a short walk after work. These actions may seem minor, but they are powerful because they send a signal to your brain that you do what you say you will do. The goal is not the size of the promise, but the consistency of keeping it. Once you succeed with small commitments, you can gradually take on bigger ones, building a strong foundation of reliability within yourself. Clarity is essential when making promises. Vague commitments like "I will be healthier" or "I will be more disciplined" do not provide a clear path forward. Specific promises, such as "I will exercise for 15 minutes today," or "I will avoid checking my phone before bed," give you a direct target. When you define your promises with clarity, you remove confusion and make it easier to follow through. Clarity transforms good intentions into actionable steps that strengthen trust. Another key is to treat your promises with the same respect you would give to someone you deeply admire. Imagine if you promised a close friend that you would meet them at a certain time, and you failed to show up repeatedly. That relationship would weaken, and eventually they would stop believing your words. The same principle applies internally. Each time you break your own word, you weaken the bond you have with yourself. But when you treat your promises as sacred, you strengthen that bond and build self-respect that no one can take away. It is also important to recognize that trust is not built in a straight line. There will be days when you slip, moments when you miss, and times when you break a promise unintentionally. What matters most is how you respond afterward. Do not use failure as proof that you cannot trust yourself. Instead, use it as an opportunity to recommit. Apologize to yourself the way you would to someone else you value. Reset the commitment and start again immediately. Over time, this resilience reinforces that even when you stumble, you always return to your word. Tracking your kept promises can accelerate growth. At the end of each day, write down the commitments you honored. This practice reminds you that you are reliable, even when progress feels slow. On difficult days, looking back at this record provides undeniable evidence that you can depend on yourself. It shifts your identity from someone who struggles with discipline to someone who follows through. The more you see this truth in writing, the stronger your self-trust becomes. The way you talk to yourself also matters in this process. If your inner dialogue is filled with harsh criticism whenever you fail, you will hesitate to make new promises. But if your self-talk is firm yet compassionate, you create an environment where growth feels safe. Speak to yourself with the tone of a supportive guide. Acknowledge mistakes honestly, but also encourage progress. This balance of accountability and kindness keeps you committed without falling into discouragement. Another powerful practice is to align your promises with your values. When you commit to something that reflects what truly matters to you, following through becomes easier. For example, if you value health, a promise to move your body daily aligns with that principle. If you value learning, a promise to read for a set time each evening fits naturally. When your commitments reflect your values, they feel meaningful rather than forced, which makes keeping them more fulfilling. Self-trust is also reinforced through courage. At times, honoring a promise will require you to face discomfort. You may feel tired, unmotivated, or tempted by easier choices. But when you push through that resistance and follow through anyway, you build unshakable confidence. Each act of courage proves that your word is stronger than your excuses. This sense of inner power grows each time you act in alignment with your commitment, despite obstacles. The impact of strengthening self-trust extends beyond personal satisfaction. It influences every area of your life. Relationships improve because you become dependable. Goals are achieved because you stay consistent. Opportunities open because people respect those who keep their word. Most importantly, your relationship with yourself transforms. You begin to see yourself as capable, disciplined, and worthy of success. That inner belief becomes the foundation for lasting growth and resilience. To live with self-trust is to live with freedom. You no longer waste energy doubting your own intentions or questioning your own ability to follow through. You move with clarity, knowing that your actions will align with your words. This freedom creates peace of mind and allows you to direct your energy toward growth instead of constant self-negotiation. Start now with a promise you can keep today. It does not need to be grand, it only needs to be real. Decide on one action, follow through, and acknowledge the success. From there, continue building. With each kept promise, your self-trust grows stronger. With each act of reliability, your confidence deepens. And with that foundation, you create a life where your word to yourself is unbreakable and your potential becomes limitless. Chapter 10. Forgive past mistakes and focus attention on present change. The weight of yesterday should never control the strength of today, because no matter how many mistakes you have made, your future is still open to change. Everyone carries memories of choices they wish had been different, words they regret, or opportunities they let pass, but holding on to those moments drains energy that could be used to build something better. Forgiveness is not about pretending the past never happened. It is about releasing the grip it has on your present life. When you free yourself from the constant replay of mistakes, you create the mental space to focus on growth, and that shift allows transformation to begin. Mistakes are part of being human. Yet, many treat them as permanent scars instead of temporary lessons. When you hold on to guilt or shame, you chain yourself to a moment that cannot be changed, and this keeps you from seeing what is possible right now. The truth is, you cannot undo the past, but you can choose how to interpret it. Every misstep contains information about who you were, what you believed, and what you still needed to learn. By accepting that truth, you remove the weight of blame and replace it with the clarity of understanding. Forgiving yourself is an act of discipline as much as it is an act of kindness. Discipline because it requires the courage to stop punishing yourself and take responsibility for creating change. Kindness because it means allowing yourself to move forward with compassion instead of constant judgment. Too many people believe they cannot forgive themselves until they achieve perfection, but perfection never comes. Forgiveness must happen first, so you can step into a new way of living without the burden of old chains. The mind often tricks you into believing that replaying mistakes somehow prevents them from happening again, but in reality, dwelling on them only deepens the wound. Growth does not come from endless regret. It comes from reflection, followed by action. Reflection allows you to acknowledge what happened honestly, and action gives you the chance to prove to yourself that you can choose differently now. That is how the past transforms from a weight into a teacher. To practice forgiveness, begin with honesty. Admit the mistake clearly to yourself without excuses, because denial only keeps the wound open. Once you have acknowledged it, ask what lesson was hidden inside that moment. Did you need stronger boundaries? Did you ignore your intuition? Did you act from fear instead of clarity? By identifying the lesson, You take control of the story instead of being trapped by it. You are no longer a prisoner of what happened. You are a student who learned from it. The next step is to release the need for constant self-punishment. Carrying shame does not make you a better person. It only weakens your ability to grow. Imagine if you treated a friend the way you treat yourself after a mistake, reminding them daily of their failure, telling them they are unworthy, refusing to let them move on. That relationship would break quickly. Yet many people maintain exactly that relationship with themselves. Choosing forgiveness means deciding to stop tearing yourself down and start guiding yourself forward. Focusing on the present requires training your attention. The past will try to pull you back, but you must redirect your energy into actions you can control today. This might mean setting new habits, approaching people with honesty, or making healthier decisions in your routine. Every present action becomes proof that you are no longer defined by your mistakes. Each day is an opportunity to show yourself that change is possible right now, not in some distant future. When you forgive, you also create space for healthier relationships. Unresolved guilt often shows up as defensiveness, withdrawal, or anger toward others. But when you release that guilt, you approach relationships with openness and honesty. You no longer need to hide or overcompensate for your past. Instead, you show up authentically as who you are today. This deepens trust and connection because people respond to honesty more than they respond to perfection. Another important part of forgiveness is patience. You cannot erase years of regret overnight, and you cannot expect to immediately stop thinking about old mistakes. Healing takes time, and that is normal. The key is not to eliminate all memory of the past, but to change your relationship with it. Instead of seeing it as a source of shame, you begin to see it as a reminder of how far you have come. This gradual shift builds resilience and strengthens your focus on growth. Practical exercises can make this process real. One approach is to write down the mistakes you continue to carry. Then, beside each one, write the lesson it taught you. This reframes your story, turning pain into wisdom. Another exercise is to create a forgiveness statement, such as, "I forgive myself for who I was, and I choose to focus on who I am becoming." Repeating this daily reinforces the decision to live in the present. Over time, your brain learns to accept this new truth. Forgiving yourself also requires humility. You must accept that you are not perfect and never will be. Perfection is not the goal. Progress is. When you hold yourself to impossible standards, you guarantee disappointment. But when you embrace your humanity, you free yourself to grow. Mistakes become stepping stones, not permanent barriers. Humility reminds you that everyone struggles, everyone fails, and everyone deserves the chance to begin again. Focusing on the present also means setting goals that reflect who you want to be now. Ask yourself what kind of life you want to create, and then commit to daily actions that align with that vision. By taking steps each day, you gradually replace the memory of old mistakes with new experiences of growth. Your life becomes a story not of regret, but of transformation. This practice is not about forgetting the past, but about refusing to let it control you. Memory will always remain, but its power over you changes when you view it differently. Instead of seeing mistakes as proof of your weakness, you see them as evidence of your growth. Instead of fearing your past, you use it as fuel to become stronger. The past is not an enemy to escape, it is a teacher to learn from and move beyond. When you master the art of forgiveness, you gain freedom. You are no longer trapped in cycles of regret, no longer afraid to move forward, no longer defined by what once was. You live fully in the present, making choices from clarity and strength. That freedom opens doors you never imagined, because you finally believe you are worthy of creating a better future. Every moment you spend focused on the past is a moment lost from building the life you desire. Every time you replay an old mistake, you take energy away from the opportunities in front of you. The choice is always available to stay chained to yesterday or to step forward today. Forgiveness is the key that unlocks that choice. Begin now by releasing one mistake you continue to carry. Speak it, write it, acknowledge it, and then decide to let it go. Shift your focus to what you can do today, no matter how small. With each act of present focus, you weaken the grip of the past and strengthen your ability to create change. Forgive, release, and redirect your attention. In doing so, you honor your humanity, reclaim your power, and open the door to a life defined not by regret, but by transformation. Chapter 11. Design a support network of honest friends, mentors, and coaches. You cannot rise to your highest potential by walking the path alone, because growth requires the presence of people who challenge you, guide you, and remind you of who you can become. Success, confidence, and resilience are not built in isolation. They are strengthened by a circle of individuals who bring truth, encouragement, and wisdom into your life. If you only rely on your own perspective, you risk being blinded by habits, excuses, and limitations that you cannot always see. That is why designing a support network of honest friends, mentors, and coaches is one of the most powerful steps you can take toward lasting transformation. An honest friend is not just someone who comforts you, but someone who dares to tell you when you are falling short. Many people surround themselves with companions who only agree with them because it feels safe to avoid criticism. But safety is not the same as growth. True friendship is built on truth delivered with care. An honest friend notices when you are repeating mistakes, when you are doubting yourself unnecessarily, or when you are settling for less than you are capable of. They remind you of your values when you forget, and they stand beside you when you need courage to act. Their honesty prevents you from living in self-deception. A mentor plays a different role. A mentor is someone who has already walked the path you are trying to navigate. They carry experience, insight, and lessons earned through years of struggle and achievement. While a friend might walk beside you, a mentor stands a few steps ahead, pointing out pitfalls you cannot see. They save you time by teaching what they already know, and they provide perspective that comes only from experience. The presence of a mentor allows you to rise faster and more effectively, because you are no longer building wisdom entirely from trial and error. You learn from both your actions and theirs. A coach is different again. A coach may not have lived your exact path, but they possess the skill to bring the best out of you. A coach asks the right questions, challenges your thinking, and holds you accountable to your commitments. They see potential that you might overlook, and they push you beyond the limits of your comfort zone. While friends and mentors can guide, a coach ensures action. They do not accept excuses, they help you follow through. With a coach, you sharpen your discipline and your ability to perform consistently. Building this kind of network requires intentional choices. It does not happen by accident. You must choose who surrounds you, because the people you interact with shape your mindset and influence your direction. If your circle is filled with negativity, jealousy, or mediocrity, you will feel drained and discouraged. But if your circle is filled with people who believe in growth, honesty, and accountability, you will rise naturally. You do not have to force motivation every day, because your environment will reinforce it. To design a network that strengthens you, begin by evaluating your current relationships. Ask yourself who encourages you to think bigger, and who pulls you down with negativity. Notice who respects your goals, and who mocks or dismisses them. Pay attention to who gives you honest feedback, and who only tells you what you want to hear. Once you are clear on this, you can begin to adjust your circle intentionally. Some relationships will need to be limited, while others will need more investment. Growth requires courage to make these adjustments, but without them, you remain stuck in the same patterns. Seeking out mentors and coaches often requires humility. You must admit that you do not know everything, and that guidance will help you progress faster. Many resist mentorship because of pride, believing they can figure everything out on their own. But the truth is, every great achiever in history had teachers, guides, and advisors who shaped them. Asking for guidance is not weakness, it is wisdom. A mentor or coach can see what you cannot, and ignoring that resource is like walking through life with your eyes half closed. When building a network, honesty must be the foundation. Without honesty, feedback becomes meaningless. A friend who avoids telling you the truth out of fear will not help you grow. A mentor who hides their struggles will not give you the real lessons. A coach who only praises without correcting will not push you forward. Honesty is uncomfortable at times, but it is the only way to reach new levels of strength. Seek people who are not afraid to be direct with you, even if it challenges your pride, because that truth is a gift. Equally important is your role in this network. It is not just about receiving support, it is also about contributing to it. You must be the kind of friend who speaks truth with care, the kind of student who respects a mentor's guidance, and the kind of client who listens to a coach's feedback. Support networks are built on mutual respect and responsibility. If you only take without giving, the connections will weaken. But if you give encouragement, honesty, and accountability in return, your network becomes stronger for everyone involved. The strength of a network also comes from diversity. If every person in your circle thinks the same way, you limit your perspective. Different backgrounds, experiences, and ways of thinking will challenge you to grow in ways you cannot predict. A mentor may guide your career, while a friend may help you manage your emotions, and a coach may sharpen your discipline. Each plays a unique role, and together they create balance. Diversity in your support system ensures that you are not blinded by a single perspective. Sometimes, building this network means stepping out of your comfort zone to meet new people. You may need to join groups, attend events, or seek communities where growth-minded individuals gather. This requires effort and openness, but the reward is worth it. You cannot expect the right people to appear in your life without taking initiative. You must put yourself in environments where honest, driven, and supportive people are likely to be. With time, you will discover connections that change the course of your journey. A strong support network also protects you in moments of weakness. Everyone experiences doubt, discouragement, or failure at some point. In those times, your friends, mentors, and coaches provide strength you cannot find alone. They remind you of your vision when you feel lost. They push you when you want to quit, and they lift you when you have fallen. Without them, setbacks can easily become permanent stops. With them, setbacks become temporary challenges that strengthen you. The quality of your support system will often determine the quality of your life. If you design it with intention, you give yourself an advantage that few ever realize. Most people drift into relationships without considering how those relationships shape them, and as a result, they remain limited by the influence of people who do not truly support their growth. You can choose differently. You can surround yourself with truth, wisdom, and accountability, and in doing so, you create an environment where success becomes natural. Remember, growth is not only about individual effort, it is also about the people who walk with you, the guides who lead you, and the coaches who push you. You are not meant to walk alone, and the sooner you embrace the strength of a supportive network, the sooner you will rise to your potential. Choose wisely, invest deeply, and remain open to honesty. That is how you build a circle that not only supports your journey, but also elevates it to heights you could never reach by yourself. Chapter 12. Nurture your body with consistent sleep, movement, and real food. Your body is the foundation of everything you want to achieve, and if you neglect it, no amount of ambition or discipline can carry you to the life you desire. The truth is simple. Without consistent sleep, regular movement, and nourishing food, your mind cannot stay sharp, your emotions cannot remain stable, and your energy cannot sustain you through the demands of growth. Many people search endlessly for motivation and strategies, yet they overlook the fact that the quality of their physical care directly determines how far they can go. When your body is depleted, even small challenges feel overwhelming, but when your body is supported, even great obstacles feel possible to overcome. Sleep is often treated as optional, yet it is the very process that restores your system. Without adequate rest, your focus declines, your patience shortens, and your health begins to weaken. Pushing yourself on little sleep may seem like productivity, but it is actually self-destruction disguised as discipline. Deep, consistent sleep allows your body to repair, your mind to organize memories, and your energy reserves to refill. Treating sleep as a priority is not laziness, it is a powerful form of preparation. If you truly want clarity, resilience, and strength, you must respect the value of rest. It is the invisible work that fuels all visible achievement. Movement is another essential. The body was not designed for stillness, yet modern life encourages sitting for long hours, numbing both strength and vitality. Regular activity is not only about physical appearance, it is about keeping your system alive and responsive. Exercise sharpens the mind, strengthens the heart, and stabilizes emotions through the release of natural chemicals that fight stress. You do not need to pursue extreme training to benefit. Even daily walking, stretching, or light routines create powerful results when done consistently. The key is not intensity, but sustainability. Movement must become part of your daily rhythm, something you protect as seriously as any other important task. When you move your body, you remind yourself that you are alive and capable. Food is the third pillar, and its impact is immediate. Every bite either supports your health or steals from it. Highly processed, artificial foods drain energy and weaken immunity, while natural, nutrient-rich foods strengthen focus, balance hormones, and improve long-term vitality. Many treat food as comfort or entertainment, forgetting that it is the raw material from which the body builds itself. If you consume low-quality materials, you cannot expect high-quality performance. Choosing real food is not about strict perfection. It is about consistent, mindful decisions. Filling your plate with whole foods, fruits, vegetables, proteins, and grains creates a strong base, while treating indulgences as rare rather than routine keeps you balanced without sabotage. The connection between these three elements, sleep, movement, and food, cannot be ignored. You cannot rely on one while neglecting the others. Great exercise cannot undo the damage of poor rest. Healthy meals cannot fully compensate for a sedentary lifestyle. Adequate sleep will not save you if your diet is harmful. Balance is necessary, and consistency is what transforms balance into results. When all three are aligned, your body becomes not a limitation but a tool that carries you toward everything you value. To nurture your body requires intention, because distractions and temptations constantly pull you away from what you know is good for you. It is easy to stay up late scrolling on your phone, to skip movement because of a busy schedule, or to reach for convenience food when you are tired. But easy choices are often costly choices. The discipline to protect your sleep, to move even when you do not feel like it, and to prepare nourishing meals when it would be simpler to reach for processed snacks. is what separates those who thrive from those who decline. It is not about perfection, but about the ability to return to healthy practices again and again until they form unshakable habits. A powerful way to ensure consistency is to view these practices as non-negotiable. Just as you would not skip work without consequence, treat your health habits as essential appointments with yourself. Protect your bedtime, guard your exercise, and prioritize your meals. By doing this, you shift from treating health as an afterthought to treating it as the central structure of your life. Once it becomes a structure, everything else you pursue, career, relationships, personal growth, has a stable base. Without this, your foundation is fragile, and your progress will always be threatened by exhaustion, illness, or lack of clarity. Your body does not need extreme measures to flourish. It responds remarkably well to steady, consistent care. Going to bed at a set time, moving daily even in simple ways, and choosing whole foods most of the time creates changes that compound over months and years. At first, these habits may feel small, but their impact builds quietly. Suddenly, you realize your energy is steadier, your thinking is clearer, and your mood is more resilient. This is the reward of treating your body as an ally rather than an afterthought. Nurturing your body is also an act of self-respect. It is a message you send to yourself: I am worth care, I am worth strength, I am worth longevity. Neglect sends the opposite message. When you ignore your need for rest, when you allow inactivity to dominate, when you feed yourself poorly, you reinforce the belief that your future is not worth protecting. Choosing better habits is not only about health, it is about identity. Every action declares what you believe about yourself. The question is whether you will declare weakness or strength, neglect or respect. This process is not only about physical benefits, it has emotional and mental consequences as well. Consistent sleep steadies your mood, regular movement reduces anxiety, and real food improves focus. These practices support resilience in the face of stress and give you the strength to recover from challenges. When your body is cared for, you do not just survive difficult days, you endure them with greater confidence. You are less shaken by stress, less reactive to setbacks, and more prepared to continue forward. It is also important to realize that nurturing your body is not selfish. Many feel guilty for prioritizing sleep, exercise, or healthy meals, believing they are stealing time from others. But neglecting your body steals far more, because when you are exhausted, weak, or sick, you cannot fully give to anyone. Caring for your body allows you to show up stronger in every role, whether as a partner, a parent, a friend, or a leader. The people around you benefit most when you are healthy, energized, and balanced. There will always be reasons to postpone caring for your body, but postponement always carries a cost. You do not need to wait for illness or fatigue to remind you of the importance of health. You can choose today to protect your future by building habits that honor your body. Think of it as an investment. Every night of proper sleep, every workout, every nourishing meal is a deposit into your strength, your clarity, and your longevity. Over time, the returns are undeniable. Your body is the one place you must live for your entire life. Treat it with the consistency it deserves. Sleep deeply, move regularly, and fuel yourself with real food. Do not allow neglect to steal your energy or your potential. Instead, nurture your body as the foundation of every goal you pursue. When you do, you will not only feel stronger, you will live stronger, think clearer, and build a life that reflects your highest potential. Chapter 13. Commit to learning by reading, practicing, and asking better questions. Knowledge is the fuel that keeps your growth alive, and when you commit yourself to learning, you ensure that every day carries a chance to rise above yesterday. True progress does not happen by accident, but by consciously feeding your mind with new ideas, testing those ideas in practice, and challenging yourself to ask better questions that open doors you never noticed before. Life rewards those who remain students long after formal education ends, because curiosity and discipline create the advantage that others overlook. Reading is the starting point of this commitment. When you pick up a book, you borrow the wisdom of another person's lifetime, gaining access to insights that may have taken them decades to discover. This is not about reading as entertainment, but as a deliberate act of self-expansion. Each page can sharpen your perspective, shift your understanding, and introduce you to principles that elevate the way you think and act. But reading alone is not enough. It must be active. Take notes, pause to reflect, and challenge yourself to apply at least one idea from everything you read. Knowledge that is not applied fades quickly, but knowledge that is practiced becomes part of who you are. Practice is the second pillar of learning, and it is where true transformation occurs. You cannot expect growth by simply consuming information. You must turn it into lived experience. If you read about discipline, you must act with discipline. If you study resilience, you must face challenges head-on. Every concept remains theory until you bring it into the real world, and only through practice do you gain mastery. Repetition creates strength. The first attempts may feel awkward or difficult, but persistence builds competence, and competence builds confidence. Learning is not about collecting ideas, but about becoming a person who lives them. The third and often overlooked element of learning is asking better questions. The quality of your questions determines the quality of your growth. Instead of asking, "Why does this always happen to me?" ask, "What can I learn from this?" Instead of asking, "When will things change?" ask, "What actions can I take today to create change?" Questions shape focus, and focus shapes results. By demanding deeper answers from yourself and others, you unlock opportunities that shallow questions never reveal. When you train yourself to ask more useful questions, you stop being a passive observer and become an active creator of your progress. This commitment to learning is not about occasional bursts of motivation, but about steady daily practice. You cannot expect to grow by reading once a month or trying something new once a year. It requires regular input, consistent testing, and constant refinement. Growth is a lifestyle, not a temporary project. Even a small daily routine of 30 minutes spent reading, reflecting, and practicing can completely reshape your mindset over time. The compounding effect of these small investments creates massive change, often without you noticing until you look back months or years later and realize how much sharper and stronger you have become. There is also discipline required in filtering what you consume. Not all information is valuable, and filling your mind with noise only leads to confusion. Commit yourself to sources that challenge and inspire you, not those that drain and distract you. Choose books that expand your understanding, conversations that push you to think, and environments that demand your best effort. Learning is not only about gaining knowledge, but about shaping your environment so that your mind stays focused on growth instead of clutter. Protecting your mental input is just as important as protecting your physical health. Another essential part of learning is humility. You must be willing to admit that you do not know everything and that there are always higher levels to reach. Pride closes doors, but humility keeps them open. When you see yourself as a lifelong student, you are never stuck because you know there is always another lesson, another teacher, another perspective. Humility allows you to learn from anyone, books, mentors, peers, even mistakes. Every experience carries knowledge if you are willing to notice it. It is also important to understand that mistakes are not signs of failure but signals for learning. Each setback gives you data about what works and what does not. The disciplined learner does not avoid mistakes. They analyze them, they ask questions, adjust their methods, and move forward with sharper wisdom. Avoiding failure only limits your growth, but engaging with it gives you the exact feedback needed to improve. The courage to fail and learn is one of the strongest commitments you can make to yourself. Commitment to learning also requires patience. Results do not appear overnight, and growth often feels invisible in the short term. But each day you read, practice, and question, you are building layers of strength within yourself. Over time, those layers create resilience, wisdom, and skill that others notice even if you cannot see it daily. Patience ensures that you stay consistent long enough to see the rewards of your effort. Impatience destroys growth because it demands results before they are earned. Stay steady, and the results will come. When you embrace this path of continuous learning, you transform into someone who is never stuck, because there is always another step forward. You become adaptable in a world that constantly changes, capable of adjusting when challenges appear. You no longer fear uncertainty, because you know you can learn your way through it. This is the power of making learning a lifelong priority. It turns you into someone who cannot be defeated by ignorance, because you are always seeking, practicing, and refining. Your growth does not stop when school ends. It begins when you decide that every day is a chance to expand. Pick up books that challenge your mind. Engage in conversations that sharpen your thinking. Ask questions that force you to reflect deeper. Apply what you learn until it becomes natural. And most importantly, commit to this process, not for a season but for a lifetime. Those who stay committed to learning never stagnate. They grow, they adapt, and they thrive. Make this your promise to yourself, to never stop reading, practicing, and questioning, to treat every day as a lesson and every challenge as a teacher, to see yourself as a student of life whose education never ends. When you do this, you guarantee that your future will always be larger than your past, and your potential will always have room to expand. Knowledge becomes wisdom, wisdom becomes action, and action becomes the life you are capable of living. Chapter 14. Protect your time by prioritizing what truly matters every day. Time is the most valuable resource you will ever possess, and protecting it determines whether your life builds toward purpose or drifts into distraction. Every moment spent on things that do not matter is energy taken away from the actions that could transform your future. Most people spend their days reacting to notifications, obligations, and demands that are not aligned with their deepest goals, and they wonder why progress feels slow. Guarding your time is not selfish, it is essential discipline. When you learn to prioritize what truly matters each day, you create momentum, focus, and freedom. Start by identifying what actually matters. This requires clarity about your goals, values, and long-term vision. Without understanding what is important, it is easy to fill your day with tasks that feel urgent but have little real impact. Write down your top priorities and remind yourself of them daily. These are the actions and decisions that will move your life forward, the ones that deserve the majority of your attention. Everything else is secondary. Recognizing this distinction allows you to evaluate every commitment before agreeing to it. Eliminating unnecessary tasks is important as prioritizing key ones. Many people equate busyness with productivity, yet a full schedule does not guarantee meaningful progress. Learn to say no to obligations that do not serve your goals and be intentional about how you spend your time. Protecting your schedule is a statement about your values. If you constantly sacrifice what matters most for distractions or shallow commitments, you are signaling to yourself that nothing is truly important. When you choose intentionally, every decision becomes aligned with your growth. Structure your day with focus blocks for what matters. Time that is not planned is easily consumed by interruptions. Set aside periods for deep work, reflection, and high-value activities. Treat these blocks as appointments that cannot be moved. Discipline in scheduling ensures that your energy goes where it has the greatest return. Protecting these blocks means turning down invitations, pausing non-essential notifications, and avoiding multitasking, because scattered focus diminishes both quality and efficiency. Understand the difference between urgent and important tasks. Urgency often hijacks your attention and gives the illusion of progress, but real impact comes from addressing what is important before it becomes urgent. Anticipate the steps needed for your goals and act on them consistently. By focusing on important tasks proactively, you reduce stress and build forward momentum. Prioritizing in this way prevents reactive living and allows you to control the direction of your life. Learn to guard your energy as well as your time. Activities that drain you or create negative emotions can steal productivity even faster than wasted minutes. Surround yourself with people, environments, and routines that support your focus. Avoid situations that sap your energy without providing meaningful return. By protecting both your time and your emotional resources, you strengthen your ability to act with clarity and consistency. Practice saying no clearly and without guilt. Many people avoid declining requests because they fear judgment, disappointment, or conflict. The truth is that every yes to something that is not important is a no to what truly matters. Respecting your own priorities requires courage and self-respect. Communicate your limits respectfully and understand that protecting your time is an act of self-discipline, not selfishness. Each refusal reinforces your commitment to your goals and sets a standard for how others engage with you. Create routines that reduce decision fatigue. When your day is structured around consistent habits and priorities, you spend less mental energy on trivial choices and more on high-impact actions. Morning routines, designated work periods, and scheduled breaks allow your mind to focus on what truly matters instead of constantly reacting. Consistency in your routines compounds over time, making your priorities automatic rather than negotiable. Regularly review how your time is spent. Reflection allows you to identify leaks, distractions, and low-value activities. Weekly or daily evaluations help you adjust, ensuring that your schedule reflects your goals rather than external pressures. This is not about perfection, but about awareness. By continually examining your patterns, you catch moments when time is being wasted and redirect it toward meaningful activities. Awareness is the first step in reclaiming control over your life. Value the power of saying yes to your priorities. It is not only about saying no to distractions, but also about actively choosing what matters most. Give your attention fully to the people, projects, and practices that align with your vision. Treat every action as intentional. When you invest in what truly matters, the results will compound over time, creating a life defined by achievement, purpose, and fulfillment. Delegate or automate low-value tasks whenever possible. Protecting your time does not mean doing everything yourself. Identify responsibilities that can be handed off or simplified, freeing space for what requires your focus and skill. Strategic delegation increases efficiency and ensures that your attention remains on tasks that deliver the most value. By focusing on impact, you maximize the return of every hour spent. Set boundaries to defend your schedule. Communicate clearly to others about your availability and limits. Avoid unnecessary interruptions, excessive meetings, and tasks that do not align with your priorities. Boundaries are not restrictions on your freedom. They are structures that protect your freedom. By defending your time, You create an environment where you can act intentionally rather than react endlessly. Recognize that time wasted is energy lost and opportunity missed. Every moment spent on low-value activities is a moment not spent building your future. Treat time as a non-renewable resource. This mindset encourages vigilance, discipline, and intentional action. When you internalize the scarcity and value of time, every decision gains clarity and purpose. Understand the long-term consequences of daily choices. Small, repeated actions compound into habits that shape the trajectory of your life. Prioritizing what matters consistently ensures that your days contribute to meaningful results. Ignoring this principle leads to scattered energy, delayed goals, and frustration. Protecting your time is the foundation of intentional living. Make reflection a habit to stay aligned. Each evening, ask what actions today moved you closer to your goals and what pulled you away. This simple exercise sharpens awareness and reinforces accountability. Awareness without action is useless, but reflection with adjustment creates continuous forward motion. Recognize that your priorities may shift over time. Life evolves, goals change, and circumstances adjust. Regularly revisit what matters most to ensure that your focus remains aligned with your vision. Flexibility within boundaries allows you to stay productive while responding to necessary changes. Intentional living does not mean rigidity. It means making conscious choices rather than drifting passively. Protecting your time is ultimately an act of self-respect and self-love. By choosing how you spend your days, you honor your values and claim responsibility for your own life. This practice strengthens discipline, focus, and confidence. When you prioritize what truly matters every day, you build a life of meaning, achievement, and control over your own destiny. Take action now by evaluating your schedule, identifying high-value tasks, eliminating low-value distractions, and committing to daily priorities. Protect your time fiercely and consistently. Each day you safeguard your hours, you invest in yourself, your goals, and the future you are creating. Time is not infinite, but when managed with intention, it becomes your most powerful ally in building the life you deserve. Chapter 15. Celebrate failures as data points that teach, adjust, and improve. Failure is not the end of your journey, but a critical tool for growth and mastery, and learning to celebrate it transforms every setback into a stepping stone for improvement. Many people react to failure with fear, shame, or frustration, allowing it to stop their progress and diminish their confidence. Yet failure is not a verdict on your worth or ability. It is data, feedback from reality that tells you what worked, what didn't, and what to adjust next. The moment you see failure as information rather than judgment, you open yourself to rapid growth and resilience. Every failure contains a lesson, if you are willing to observe it honestly. The first step is detachment. Remove your identity from the outcome. Success or failure does not define who you are. It only reflects what occurred in a specific situation. When you separate your self-worth from results, you can analyze mistakes objectively and extract actionable insights. This mindset allows you to approach every setback as a teacher rather than a threat. The second step is reflection. After a failure, pause and review the sequence of actions that led to the outcome. Ask yourself what went right, what went wrong, and what could have been done differently. Break down the process into clear components to identify patterns or decisions that contributed to the result. Reflection is not about blame, but about understanding. When approached with curiosity rather than regret, it becomes a tool for refinement. Third, make adjustments based on what you learn. Knowledge without application is wasted. Each lesson from failure must be transformed into a practical change in your actions, strategy, or mindset. Maybe your planning needs improvement, or perhaps your execution lacked consistency. Adjusting your approach ensures that the next attempt is stronger and smarter. Celebrate failure as a sign that you are experimenting, testing boundaries, and learning what works. Embrace the emotional impact of failure without letting it control your actions. Feeling disappointment or frustration is natural, but dwelling on these emotions for too long hinders progress. Use those feelings to fuel motivation rather than paralyzing self-criticism. Emotional resilience is developed by acknowledging your feelings, processing them quickly, and refocusing on solutions and next steps. The ability to recover mentally and emotionally from setbacks separates consistent achievers from those who stagnate. Another critical aspect is reframing failure publicly and personally. Share your experiences with trusted peers, mentors, or a support network to gain perspective and guidance. Discussing failures normalizes them and allows you to receive feedback that might illuminate overlooked lessons. Speaking openly also reduces the fear associated with mistakes and creates a culture of learning and accountability around you. Recognize patterns across failures to accelerate growth. Individual setbacks provide isolated lessons, but recurring failures reveal deeper issues or habits that need attention. Track your attempts, outcomes, and adjustments over time to identify consistent trends. These patterns allow you to make strategic changes in your approach and minimize repeated mistakes. Over time, you transform setbacks into a roadmap for continuous improvement. Develop a mindset of experimentation. Treat each endeavor as a test rather than a pass-fail judgment. This approach reduces fear and encourages risk-taking because the focus shifts from being perfect to learning and iterating. Experimentation means you are actively seeking feedback and are willing to adapt, which leads to faster progress than rigidly clinging to a single approach. Use failure to build humility and perspective. No one succeeds without encountering challenges and making mistakes. Accepting this reality fosters patience and reduces arrogance. When you see that every expert and high achiever has faced setbacks, you understand that failure is not shameful but expected. This perspective encourages persistence and reinforces the principle that growth comes through effort, reflection, and adaptation. Failure also strengthens decision-making. Each experience teaches you how to weigh risks, anticipate obstacles, and make more informed choices. With each attempt, your ability to assess situations, predict outcomes, and act decisively improves. When failure is treated as a valuable teacher, it becomes a training ground for sharper judgment and confidence in your decisions. Celebrate small failures as well as large ones. Minor mistakes provide immediate feedback and allow you to correct course early. Large failures often carry more visible consequences, but the process of learning remains the same. Acknowledging and appreciating the lessons in both prevents fear from growing disproportionately and helps you maintain momentum in pursuing ambitious goals. Reinforce learning by journaling or documenting outcomes. Writing down what happened, what you learned, and what adjustments you will make cements knowledge and creates a record to review. Over time, this record becomes evidence of your progress, showing how setbacks contributed directly to growth and success. Documentation turns mistakes into milestones rather than regrets. Encourage curiosity in failure rather than judgment. Ask questions such as, what caused this outcome? What options were overlooked? Or what can be improved? Approaching failure as a puzzle to solve stimulates creativity and innovation. This perspective fosters problem-solving skills and reduces the fear of taking new actions in the future. Remember that failure accelerates learning exponentially compared to success alone. Success confirms existing skills, but failure challenges you to adapt, stretch, and evolve. Each setback forces reflection, analysis, and action, making you smarter and more capable than you were before. Those who embrace this principle consistently outperform those who avoid risks out of fear. Normalize the process of failing as a standard part of growth. Do not wait for perfection before acting. Take steps, risk mistakes, and learn continuously. Every failure is a data point that informs the next move. When you adopt this perspective, setbacks become exciting opportunities rather than discouraging events. Commit to resilience by taking immediate, deliberate action after each failure. Analyze, adjust, and implement improvements quickly to maintain momentum. Hesitation or avoidance slows progress and allows fear to take root. Action demonstrates commitment to learning and reinforces your confidence in handling challenges. Finally, celebrate the courage inherent in failing. Attempting something meaningful carries risk, and taking that risk is evidence of strength and determination. Acknowledge your willingness to act, experiment and grow despite uncertainty. Recognize that each failure is a necessary step toward mastery and that your persistence builds experience, wisdom and confidence that cannot be gained any other way. By treating failures as data points, analyzing them, adjusting strategies, and acting with resilience, you convert every setback into fuel for progress. This mindset transforms obstacles into opportunities, mistakes into lessons, and challenges into a structured path toward achievement. The ability to embrace, learn from, and celebrate failure is a hallmark of lasting success and personal growth. Chapter 16. Focus on small, consistent habits that compound into major change. Real transformation does not happen overnight, but through small, consistent habits practiced daily until they accumulate into extraordinary results. Most people chase dramatic changes or wait for the perfect moment, yet true growth is built quietly and steadily through repeated actions that seem insignificant at first. Small efforts, when applied consistently, compound over time, creating progress that is both sustainable and profound. The key is to identify habits that align with your goals and integrate them into your daily life without relying solely on motivation. Consistency is more important than intensity. Attempting massive efforts sporadically often leads to burnout, frustration, and failure. Small, deliberate actions practiced regularly build momentum, discipline, and confidence. For example, reading 10 pages daily, taking a short walk each morning, or saving a small portion of your income consistently can create life-changing results over months and years. The compounding effect multiplies small wins into significant achievement far beyond what one large but irregular effort could achieve. To implement this principle, first focus on clarity. Identify which areas of your life require improvement and determine the smallest actionable steps you can take daily. Clarity ensures that your habits are purposeful and aligned with your long-term objectives. Without a clear direction, consistency can be wasted on actions that produce little impact. Each habit should serve a specific goal or contribute to a desired outcome, making every repetition meaningful and intentional. Start with one habit at a time. Attempting too many changes simultaneously often leads to scattered attention and low adherence. By concentrating on one habit, you give it the attention and focus needed for it to take root. Once the habit is established, layer additional habits on top. Gradual implementation ensures sustainability and reduces overwhelm, allowing the mind and body to adapt to new routines without resistance. Track your progress to reinforce consistency. Documenting your actions creates accountability and provides tangible evidence of your efforts. Seeing patterns of completion motivates continuation and highlights the compounding effect. Tracking does not need to be elaborate. Even a simple checklist or journal entry reinforces commitment and allows you to measure small incremental gains. Each tick mark represents momentum building silently toward your larger goals. Understand that the effects of small habits are often invisible at first. The changes may not be noticeable for weeks or months, which can create doubt or impatience. Persistence during this period is crucial. Trust the process and recognize that compounding works quietly beneath the surface. Every consistent action is planting a seed that will grow into a visible result, even if immediate feedback is not apparent. Patience is the companion of consistent habits. Focus on habits that produce multiple benefits. High-leverage habits, or keystone habits, influence other areas of life positively. For instance, exercising daily improves energy, focus, and emotional resilience, while journaling increases clarity, emotional intelligence, and self-discipline. Selecting habits that multiply their effects accelerates growth and ensures your efforts create significant impact beyond the immediate action. Eliminate friction that prevents consistency. Identify obstacles or distractions that hinder the execution of your habits and remove them proactively. Prepare your environment to support your desired behaviors, such as keeping healthy food accessible, setting reminders for practice, or creating a dedicated workspace. Reducing resistance increases the likelihood that small daily actions become routine rather than neglected opportunities. Celebrate incremental progress. Recognizing even the smallest achievements reinforces commitment and builds positive feedback loops. Each successful repetition signals to your brain that consistency is rewarding, strengthening motivation and resilience. The act of celebrating does not require extravagance. Acknowledgement and appreciation of small victories solidify the habit and encourage ongoing effort. Combine accountability with personal responsibility. Share your habit goals with a mentor, friend, or peer who can provide encouragement and track your progress. External accountability amplifies internal discipline, making it less likely to skip or abandon actions. Simultaneously, develop self-reliance by understanding that your growth is ultimately your responsibility. Balance guidance with personal commitment to ensure habits are maintained independently of external influence. Integrate habits into existing routines to reinforce consistency. Anchoring a new behavior to a pre-existing action reduces the effort required to remember and perform it. For example, reading after your morning coffee or stretching before brushing your teeth links the habit to an established cue. Habit stacking leverages routine structures to create seamless integration and minimizes friction, making daily repetition automatic over time. Reflect regularly on the cumulative impact of your habits. Periodically review progress and evaluate which actions are producing results and which require adjustment. Reflection allows refinement, ensuring that the small, consistent habits continue to align with evolving goals. This practice transforms repetition from mechanical action into deliberate growth, making every habit a strategic tool rather than a passive routine. Focus on quality over quantity within your habits. Performing small actions with attention and intentionality matters more than mindlessly completing them. Engaging fully strengthens the behavior, reinforces learning, and enhances the compounding effect. Each repetition becomes a deliberate investment in your skills, health, or knowledge, amplifying the long-term impact of the habit. Understand that consistency builds identity. The more consistently you perform small habits, the more they become part of who you are. Identity shapes behavior more than motivation or willpower alone. When small habits are repeated enough, they solidify into traits, and your identity shifts to reflect your actions. You become the type of person who exercises, learns, plans, or practices discipline naturally rather than relying on occasional effort. Prepare for setbacks as part of the process. Missing a day or encountering obstacles does not erase progress. The key is to resume immediately and maintain long-term consistency. Treat interruptions as data points, not failures, and use them to reinforce strategies that prevent recurrence. Resilience in the face of setbacks strengthens habits and accelerates compounding growth. Recognize that small, consistent habits create leverage. Actions that seem minor in isolation accumulate into extraordinary outcomes when practiced relentlessly. Writing a single paragraph a day produces a full manuscript over time. Saving a small amount of money regularly leads to significant wealth, and practicing a skill for a few minutes daily results in mastery. Consistency multiplies impact far beyond the apparent effort. Finally, commit to a long-term perspective. Habits are the engines of transformation, and their true power lies in sustained application over months and years. Trust the compounding effect of your actions, and focus on building routines that endure. Small, consistent steps taken daily accumulate into a life of achievement, strength, and meaningful growth. The choice to embrace incremental habits is a choice to claim control over your future and to construct success one deliberate action at a time. Chapter 17. Align daily actions with personal values, goals, and clear intentions. Every action you take shapes your life, and aligning daily actions with your values, goals, and clear intentions ensures that each day builds toward meaningful achievement. Most people drift through their routines, reacting to circumstances instead of consciously directing their time and energy, and as a result, their efforts scatter across tasks that provide little real progress. When your actions reflect your core principles and objectives, every decision, choice, and effort compounds into a life that feels purposeful and fulfilling. Alignment is the bridge between who you are, what you want, and the results you create. Start by clarifying your values. Values are the fundamental beliefs that guide your decisions and priorities. Without knowing what truly matters to you, it is impossible to act consistently toward meaningful goals. Take time to define the principles that you want your life to reflect, whether it is integrity, health, creativity, or contribution. When your values are explicit, they become a filter for every choice you make, allowing you to reject distractions and focus on what resonates with your deepest self. Once values are clear, establish goals that connect to those principles. Goals give your values tangible expression in daily life. Each goal should be specific, measurable, and purposeful, directly reflecting your priorities. By linking goals to your values, you ensure that progress feels meaningful and aligned rather than hollow or superficial. Every task and action then becomes a step toward embodying what matters most to you. Define clear intentions for each day. Intentions are the conscious statements of purpose that guide your behavior in the present moment. Without daily intentions, even well-defined goals can be ignored or delayed. Start each day by deciding what you will focus on, what actions will matter, and how you will conduct yourself. Daily intentions act as a compass, ensuring that your energy is spent deliberately rather than scattered across inconsequential activities. Plan actions with consistency and priority. Not all activities have equal impact on your goals or values. Identify high-leverage actions that move you closer to what matters most and schedule them into your day first. Protect these periods from distractions and commit to completing them before less important tasks. Prioritizing high-value actions ensures that each day contributes to growth, achievement, and alignment, rather than merely filling time. Develop self-awareness to maintain alignment. Regularly check in with yourself to ensure that your behaviors reflect your values and intentions. Awareness prevents mindless habits from dominating your day and allows course corrections before wasted effort accumulates. Questions such as, does this action support my goals, or is this choice consistent with my values, provide a practical method for maintaining alignment in real time. Create habits that reinforce your goals and principles. Daily routines are powerful tools to translate values into action automatically. Habits like setting aside focused work periods, journaling intentions, exercising for health, or practicing reflection reinforce the connection between your inner priorities and outer behavior. When habits align with your values and goals, they eliminate reliance on fluctuating motivation and create sustainable progress over time. Eliminate activities that distract from alignment. Time spent on low-value tasks or obligations that do not support your purpose erodes focus and drains energy. Identify recurring distractions, whether digital, social, or internal, and take deliberate steps to reduce or remove them. By clearing space for meaningful actions, you create an environment where aligned behavior becomes natural and effortless. Use reflection to evaluate alignment regularly. Each evening, review what was accomplished, what decisions were made, and whether actions matched your intentions and values. Reflection identifies misalignment early, allowing for adjustments before patterns of drift become entrenched. This process strengthens clarity, accountability, and self-discipline while reinforcing the importance of intentional living. Recognize that alignment requires courage. Acting consistently with your values and goals often means making choices that are unpopular, uncomfortable, or different from the expectations of others. It may require saying no, setting boundaries, or taking risks. Courage ensures that you stay true to yourself despite external pressure and short-term inconvenience. Each act of integrity strengthens self-trust and deepens your sense of purpose. Commit to clarity in decision-making. Every choice should be evaluated through the lens of your values, goals, and intentions. Before agreeing to obligations, making purchases, or spending time on tasks, ask whether the action contributes to your priorities. Clear decision-making prevents energy leaks and reinforces a life of intentional action rather than reactive drift. Develop accountability systems that support alignment. Share your goals and values with mentors, peers, or supportive communities who can provide feedback, encouragement, and perspective. External accountability complements internal discipline, helping you remain consistent even when motivation wavers. Supportive structures reinforce alignment by providing reminders and checks that strengthen adherence to your chosen path. Embrace flexibility without losing focus. Life is dynamic, and unexpected circumstances may require adjustments. Flexibility allows you to adapt without abandoning your core values and long-term objectives. The key is to remain anchored in your principles while adjusting methods, timing, or approaches to meet changing conditions. This balance prevents rigidity while maintaining purposeful direction. Measure impact, not activity. Busy work and constant motion do not equal alignment. Focus on outcomes that advance your goals and reflect your values. Tracking impact clarifies whether actions are effective or need adjustment, ensuring that time and energy are invested wisely. High-impact activity reinforces motivation and strengthens confidence in your daily choices. Practice mindfulness to enhance alignment. Being present in each moment allows you to act consciously rather than react impulsively. Awareness of thoughts, emotions, and circumstances helps you choose responses that are consistent with your intentions and goals. Mindfulness reduces distractions, increases clarity, and enhances the quality of every action, embedding alignment in both decision and execution. Recognize the compounding effect of aligned action. Every day that your behavior reflects your values and priorities strengthens habits, skills, and relationships. Small, consistent alignment creates momentum, producing results far greater than isolated efforts. Over time, a life built on aligned daily actions becomes a coherent expression of purpose, fulfillment, and achievement. Reinforce alignment through self-compassion. Perfection is not required to live intentionally, and occasional lapses are natural. Use setbacks as data for reflection, learning and adjustment rather than self-criticism. Compassion maintains motivation and resilience, enabling you to return to alignment consistently without discouragement. Understand that aligned action builds self-trust. Each day that your behavior matches your intentions demonstrates reliability to yourself. Self-trust strengthens confidence, reduces internal conflict, and encourages bolder action in pursuit of goals. The practice of consistent alignment transforms integrity from abstract value into lived reality. Integrate alignment into every domain of life. Professional, personal, health, and relationship actions should reflect your values and goals. Cohesion across areas prevents fragmentation, reduces stress, and maximizes the cumulative impact of your efforts. A life aligned across multiple domains feels coherent, purposeful, and empowering. Finally, commit to intentional daily action. Alignment is not a one-time achievement, but a continual practice. Each decision, behavior, and habit is an opportunity to reinforce your values, pursue your goals, and act with clarity of purpose. By making alignment a non-negotiable principle, you create a life where every day contributes meaningfully to growth, achievement, and fulfillment. Every choice you make shapes your life, and aligning daily actions with personal values, goals, and clear intentions ensures that every moment contributes to meaningful progress. Most people drift through their days reacting to circumstances rather than acting deliberately, and as a result, their energy is scattered across tasks that do not create real impact. When actions are intentionally connected to your core principles and objectives, each effort compounds into a life that is purposeful, productive, and fulfilling. Alignment transforms ordinary routines into powerful steps toward long-term success and satisfaction. Begin by clarifying your values, because values are the compass that guides decision-making and prioritization. Without understanding what truly matters, you will constantly be pulled in directions that drain energy and reduce effectiveness. Identify the principles you want to embody in every area of life, such as integrity, discipline, growth, or contribution. When values are explicit, they act as filters for your choices, allowing you to say no to distractions and yes to actions that support your vision. Next, establish goals that flow naturally from your values, because goals give concrete expression to what you believe is important. Goals bridge the gap between intention and results and provide measurable direction for your efforts. Each goal should be specific, achievable, and directly aligned with the principles you identified, ensuring that your daily actions have clear purpose. When goals are rooted in values, progress becomes meaningful and motivates continued effort. Set clear intentions for each day and use them as a guide to direct focus and energy. Intentions are conscious statements about what you will accomplish and how you will behave throughout the day. Without daily intentions, it is easy to drift into reactive behaviors or get absorbed by low-priority tasks. A daily intention clarifies what matters most, allowing you to allocate time and energy toward high-value activities. Plan and prioritize actions to match your values, goals, and intentions, because not all tasks have equal impact. Focus on activities that produce the greatest results and schedule them first to prevent distractions from consuming your attention. Protect these periods from interruptions and commit fully to high-priority tasks, ensuring that each day moves you closer to long-term objectives. This intentional allocation of effort maximizes efficiency and effectiveness. Develop self-awareness to maintain alignment and regularly assess whether your choices reflect your priorities. Awareness prevents mindless routines and allows for quick correction when actions deviate from your intended path. Asking questions like, "Does this serve my values?" or "Does this advance my goals?" helps maintain conscious control over daily behavior. Reflection strengthens accountability and reinforces purposeful living. Create habits that reinforce aligned actions, because habits translate intention into automatic behavior. Build routines that support your principles and make progress predictable and sustainable. For example, establish consistent work periods, journaling sessions, exercise, or focused skill practice to embed aligned behavior into your day. Habits reduce reliance on fluctuating motivation and ensure continuous movement toward meaningful outcomes. Eliminate distractions and activities that do not serve alignment to protect your time and energy. Identify recurring low-value obligations, digital interruptions, or social pressures that divert focus from what matters. Removing or reducing these obstacles creates an environment where intentional behavior becomes natural and sustainable. Space and clarity allow attention to remain fixed on high-impact actions. Use reflection to evaluate alignment and adjust regularly. At the end of each day, review accomplishments, decisions, and behaviors to see whether they match your values and intentions. Reflection identifies patterns of misalignment early, allowing corrective action before they become entrenched. This practice reinforces awareness and ensures that your actions continue to advance your goals consistently over time. Embrace courage in maintaining alignment, because doing what is important may be uncomfortable or unpopular. Acting consistently with values often requires saying no, setting boundaries, or taking risks. Courage allows you to honor your priorities, even when external pressures tempt compromise. Each courageous choice strengthens self-trust and deepens commitment to a meaningful life. Practice disciplined decision-making by filtering choices through your values, goals, and intentions. Every commitment, obligation, and action should be evaluated based on whether it contributes to your desired outcomes. Clear decision-making prevents wasted energy and strengthens focus, allowing consistent progress toward long-term objectives. Integrate accountability systems to reinforce alignment by sharing goals with mentors, peers, or supportive communities. Feedback, encouragement, and tracking provide structure and motivation to maintain consistent behavior. External accountability complements self-discipline, making it more likely that actions remain aligned despite challenges or fatigue. Maintain flexibility without losing focus. Because life is unpredictable and adjustments are necessary, adapt methods, timing, or approach while keeping core values and goals intact. Flexibility ensures that alignment is maintained even under changing circumstances and prevents rigidity from blocking growth. Measure results, not activity, because effort alone does not equal meaningful progress. Focus on outcomes that advance goals and reflect principles. Tracking impact rather than busyness ensures that your energy and time are invested where it matters most and allows for strategic adjustments to maximize results. Practice mindfulness to reinforce alignment and increase awareness of actions, thoughts, and emotions. Being present in each moment allows deliberate responses consistent with intentions rather than automatic reactions. Mindfulness enhances clarity and quality of action, embedding alignment into every choice. Understand the compounding power of aligned action, because consistent daily behavior builds momentum and shapes identity. Small, consistent actions accumulate into significant achievements over time. Alignment ensures that each step, however small, moves you toward long-term success and fulfillment. Reinforce alignment with self-compassion, because perfection is not required, and occasional lapses are natural. Use mistakes as feedback for learning and course correction, rather than self-criticism. Compassion maintains motivation and resilience, allowing continued adherence to principles without discouragement. Recognize that aligned daily actions strengthen self-trust, as each consistent behavior demonstrates reliability to yourself. Self-trust builds confidence, reduces internal conflict, and empowers bolder choices. Living in alignment transforms abstract values into lived reality. Ensure alignment across all domains of life, including work, health, relationships, and personal growth. Cohesion prevents fragmentation, reduces stress, and amplifies results. A life aligned in multiple areas produces clarity, purpose, and sustainable momentum toward long-term vision. Commit to intentional action each day, because alignment is a continuous practice. Every choice and habit is an opportunity to reflect values, advance goals, and act with clear intention. Sustaining this practice creates a life of meaningful progress, resilience, and fulfillment, where each day contributes to the bigger picture of personal success. Chapter 18. Act with courage. By facing fears one small step. Courage is not the absence of fear, but the deliberate choice to move forward despite it, and every act of bravery begins with one small step. Most people let fear dictate their actions, avoiding challenges and opportunities that could lead to growth, success, or fulfillment. Yet the moment you confront fear deliberately, even in tiny increments, you break the cycle of avoidance and reclaim control over your life. Courage builds strength, resilience, and confidence, and it compounds over time when approached consistently. Start by identifying your fears clearly, because awareness is the first step toward mastery. Whether it is fear of failure, rejection, change, or uncertainty, naming the specific fear removes vagueness and gives you something tangible to work with. When you see fear as a concrete challenge rather than an undefined threat, it becomes manageable and actionable. Small steps toward confronting fear can then be planned with clarity and precision. Take one small, deliberate step toward your fear every day. Courage grows gradually and requires repeated action rather than a single dramatic leap. Begin with manageable actions that stretch your comfort zone without overwhelming it. Each step builds confidence and desensitizes your mind to fear, making the next action easier and more natural. Incremental progress compounds into lasting bravery and resilience. Use preparation to reduce anxiety and increase effectiveness. Preparing for challenging situations equips you with tools and knowledge to handle uncertainty, reducing hesitation and doubt. Planning small experiments or rehearsing responses builds confidence while allowing you to take controlled steps toward facing your fear. Preparation converts anxiety into focus and strategy, turning fear into a guide for deliberate action. Reframe fear as a signal rather than a warning. Fear often indicates an opportunity for growth or a challenge that matters. When you see fear as information, it becomes a motivator rather than a barrier. Each uncomfortable feeling signals an area where courage can be exercised and development can occur. This perspective transforms fear from a source of avoidance into a catalyst for action. Practice self-awareness during fearful moments. Notice the physical sensations, thoughts, and emotions that arise when fear is present. Awareness allows you to respond deliberately rather than react impulsively or retreat. Observing fear objectively diminishes its power and strengthens your ability to act with control and intention. Build a mindset of resilience by embracing discomfort as a teacher. Fear often accompanies situations that require growth, skill development, or risk-taking. Accepting temporary discomfort as part of the process strengthens mental toughness and reduces avoidance behavior. Each small step taken in the presence of fear reinforces the belief that you can handle challenges and adapt to uncertainty. Break larger fears into smaller, actionable steps. Overwhelming fears can paralyze action, but dividing them into bite-sized challenges creates achievable goals. Focus on one micro step at a time and celebrate completion before moving to the next. The process of gradual exposure builds courage incrementally, transforming seemingly impossible fears into manageable experiences. Use visualization to reinforce courage. Imagine yourself taking action successfully despite fear and experiencing positive outcomes. Visualization primes your mind for real-world performance and reduces resistance when it comes time to act. Mentally rehearsing small steps strengthens confidence and helps embed a sense of control over fearful situations. Cultivate supportive habits and routines that reinforce bravery. Daily practices such as reflection, journaling, affirmations, or mindful meditation strengthen self-awareness and inner strength. These habits provide a stable foundation that supports consistent, courageous action, allowing you to face fear without being overwhelmed by doubt or hesitation. Recognize the cumulative impact of small, courageous acts. Each step taken against fear strengthens neural pathways, builds confidence, and reinforces a sense of personal power. Small actions compound over time, and bravery becomes a natural part of your behavior rather than an occasional effort. Persistence in facing fear gradually transforms your identity into someone who takes initiative despite uncertainty. Seek support and guidance when necessary. Mentors, friends, or coaches can provide perspective, encouragement, and practical strategies to face fears effectively. Support does not diminish courage. It amplifies resilience by providing insights and accountability that help you stay committed to taking steps forward. Collaboration reinforces commitment and reduces isolation in confronting challenges. Acknowledge progress to maintain momentum. Each small step taken deserves recognition because it strengthens motivation and reinforces the habit of acting despite fear. Celebrating achievements, even minor ones, validates effort and builds confidence for future challenges. Recognition of progress sustains courage over the long term. Embrace mistakes and setbacks as part of courageous action. Facing fear does not guarantee immediate success, and challenges often involve trial and error. Each setback provides feedback and insight for refinement. Resilient courage comes from learning from mistakes and continuing forward with adjusted strategy and renewed determination. Integrate courage into daily decision-making. Choose to act when fear arises, rather than waiting for perfect conditions or complete confidence. Small decisions, consistently made in alignment with bravery, accumulate into a pattern of deliberate action and personal empowerment. Courage becomes habitual and strengthens all areas of life. Practice emotional regulation when confronting fear. Techniques such as deep breathing, grounding, or mindful observation reduce anxiety and create a calm platform for action. Emotional control enhances clarity, enabling deliberate steps toward challenges rather than reactive avoidance. Regular practice strengthens your capacity to act with composure in the face of fear. Reflect regularly on courageous actions to reinforce learning. Consider what was effective, what caused hesitation, and how to improve next time. Reflection transforms experience into skill and insight, ensuring that fear is progressively mastered rather than avoided. Each reflection deepens understanding and prepares you for increasingly complex challenges. Maintain a long-term perspective on courage. Building bravery is a lifelong process, and each small step contributes to a greater capacity for facing challenges, taking risks, and pursuing meaningful goals. Understanding that courage develops gradually prevents discouragement and reinforces patience, discipline, and persistence in personal growth. Anchor courage in purpose and values. Acting with bravery is easier when aligned with meaningful goals and principles. Understanding why facing a particular fear matters provides motivation and strengthens commitment. Purpose-driven courage ensures that action is deliberate and sustainable rather than reactive or impulsive. Finally, commit to taking action every day, no matter how small, against the fears that limit your potential. Each step forward reinforces your ability to handle uncertainty, strengthens self-confidence, and builds momentum for larger challenges. Courage is cultivated through consistent practice, reflection, and the willingness to act despite discomfort, creating a life where fear no longer dictates your choices or limits your growth. Courage begins with a single deliberate step, and each act of bravery compounds into lasting strength and confidence. Fear often controls more lives than any external obstacle, shaping choices and limiting potential, yet taking even the smallest action despite fear shifts control back to you. True courage is built incrementally, not in grand gestures, and small steps consistently taken create momentum that expands your capacity to face bigger challenges over time. Start by identifying specific fears to confront, because clarity transforms vague anxiety into actionable challenges. Pinpoint areas where fear prevents progress, such as public speaking, career decisions, personal confrontation, or trying new skills. Naming these fears creates a tangible target for deliberate action, reducing the power of uncertainty and enabling focused steps forward. Break larger fears into manageable portions, beginning with micro actions. Confronting a fear in small increments makes it approachable and reduces the risk of overwhelm. Each micro step is an opportunity to practice bravery, build confidence, and desensitize the mind to fear's intensity. Gradual exposure strengthens resilience while reinforcing the habit of acting despite discomfort. Prepare strategically to enhance effectiveness and reduce anxiety. Planning responses, rehearsing scenarios, or researching options equips you to take action with clarity and control. Preparation converts apprehension into deliberate focus, turning fear into a guide for measured, confident steps. The more prepared you are, the less intimidating the initial step becomes. Reframe fear as information rather than a barrier. Fear signals areas of growth or opportunity and points to where courage is needed. By seeing fear as a guide, you transform it into a tool for progress. Each uncomfortable sensation becomes a prompt for action, a signal that the situation matters and that personal growth awaits. Use awareness to monitor responses to fear. Observe thoughts, physical sensations, and emotional reactions without judgment. Awareness enables conscious choice rather than reflexive avoidance. Understanding how fear manifests in your body and mind provides insight for deliberate, controlled action and prevents fear from dictating behavior. Cultivate daily habits that reinforce courage. Practices such as reflection, journaling, affirmations, or short daily challenges strengthen mental resilience. Consistent engagement with small courageous actions develops a foundation that supports bolder decisions and reduces reliance on fleeting motivation. Habits integrate courage into daily life, making bravery an expected response rather than an occasional effort. Recognize and celebrate incremental progress. Each step taken despite fear builds momentum, reinforces self-trust, and strengthens the neural pathways associated with brave behavior. Acknowledging small victories creates a positive feedback loop that motivates continued action, gradually transforming the way you approach challenging situations. Seek support and guidance when facing significant fears. Mentors, coaches, or trusted peers provide feedback, encouragement, and perspective that enhance your ability to act. Support does not diminish courage, it amplifies resilience, helps maintain consistency, and provides strategies to navigate obstacles more effectively. Expect setbacks as part of the courageous process. Encountering difficulty or temporary failure is inevitable when facing fear. Treat each challenge as information for adjustment rather than evidence of incapacity. Resilience is strengthened by persistence, reflection, and adaptive action, allowing small steps to accumulate into lasting confidence and mastery. Anchor actions in purpose to strengthen resolve. When facing fear aligns with meaningful personal goals or values, motivation increases and hesitation diminishes. Purpose-driven courage ensures that steps forward are deliberate and consistent, connecting daily efforts to a broader vision for growth and fulfillment. Use emotional regulation to maintain clarity and composure. Deep breathing, grounding exercises, or mindful reflection reduce anxiety and create mental space for deliberate action. Emotional control allows consistent, intentional steps, reinforcing the habit of acting despite discomfort. Reflect consistently on progress to reinforce learning. Consider what worked, where hesitation occurred, and what adjustments are necessary. Reflection transforms experience into skill, ensuring that fear is progressively managed rather than avoided. Each review strengthens insight and prepares you for increasingly complex challenges. Integrate courage into everyday decision-making. Choose to act when fear appears rather than delaying or avoiding tasks. Small, consistent choices build a pattern of intentional bravery that compounds into identity, shaping you as someone who takes initiative in spite of uncertainty. Maintain a long-term perspective, understanding that courage is developed gradually. Each small step taken consistently adds to a reservoir of confidence, skill, and resilience. Patience, persistence, and deliberate practice are essential to transforming fear into a manageable force rather than a limitation. Remove unnecessary obstacles that amplify fear. Identify distractions, environmental triggers, or negative influences that heighten anxiety and limit action. Simplifying the context around your efforts allows small, courageous steps to be executed consistently and effectively, reducing resistance and reinforcing progress. Recognize the compounding effect of facing fear. Small, courageous actions accumulate into transformative growth, changing not only your abilities but also your mindset. Each action builds confidence, strengthens self-trust, and expands the scope of challenges you are willing to take on in the future. Practice self-compassion to sustain courage. Avoid harsh self-criticism for perceived hesitation or mistakes. Use setbacks as lessons and reinforce commitment through patience and understanding. Compassion maintains motivation, preserves mental energy, and ensures resilience during the gradual process of overcoming fear. Anchor courage in identity. Repeatedly acting despite fear shapes self-perception and internalizes bravery as a core characteristic. When courage becomes part of your identity, acting despite fear requires less effort and becomes an automatic response aligned with your values and goals. Finally, commit to taking one deliberate step against fear every day. Consistency, reflection, preparation, and alignment with purpose transform incremental actions into enduring courage. Over time, the accumulation of small steps facing fear builds a life defined by confidence, resilience, and the freedom to pursue meaningful goals without being controlled by limitations. Chapter 19. Master emotional regulation using breath, grounding, and simple reflection. Emotions are powerful forces that shape every decision and action, and mastering emotional regulation transforms your life by giving you control over how you respond to challenges. Most people react impulsively to stress, anger, or anxiety, allowing fleeting feelings to dictate behavior, yet the ability to regulate emotions creates clarity, resilience, and strength. Emotional mastery is not about suppressing feelings, but observing, understanding, and guiding them so they serve your goals rather than derail progress. Begin with conscious awareness of your emotions, because understanding what you feel is the foundation for regulation. Notice when tension rises, when frustration emerges, or when worry begins to dominate your mind. Labeling emotions precisely allows you to respond intentionally rather than being swept away by intensity. Awareness transforms chaotic feelings into actionable information that guides your next steps. Practice deep, controlled breathing to stabilize your mind and body. Breath is a powerful tool that anchors attention, reduces physiological stress responses, and creates space for reflection. Slow, deliberate breaths signal to the nervous system that it is safe to relax, lowering heart rate and calming agitation. By focusing on breath, you interrupt automatic reactive patterns and create an opportunity to act with clarity and control. Use grounding techniques to stay present and centered. Physical sensations such as feeling your feet on the floor, pressing your hands together, or noticing textures around you help anchor attention in the present moment. Grounding diminishes the power of racing thoughts and anxiety, allowing emotions to be observed without overwhelming the mind. Presence enables deliberate choices rather than impulsive reactions. Integrate brief reflective pauses throughout the day to assess emotional state. Ask yourself what triggered a strong feeling, how it manifests in the body, and what response is most constructive. Reflection allows you to separate instinctive reactions from conscious action, turning emotional energy into purposeful decision-making. Regular reflection strengthens self-awareness and builds habits of intentional emotional management. Develop a routine that supports consistent emotional regulation. Daily practices such as journaling feelings, reviewing responses to stress, or noting emotional patterns reinforce awareness and improve self-control. Structured reflection transforms insights into skills, creating a reliable process for managing emotions even during high-pressure situations. Recognize the link between thoughts and emotions. Mental interpretations often amplify or diminish feelings. By observing thought patterns and challenging distorted or exaggerated narratives, you reduce unnecessary emotional intensity. Cognitive awareness allows for balanced responses that reflect reality rather than exaggerated fears or assumptions. Implement micro breaks to reset emotional energy. Short periods of stepping away, stretching, or focusing on sensory experiences restore balance and prevent escalation of stress. Even a minute of conscious breathing or grounding can prevent reactive behavior and maintain equilibrium throughout the day. Consistency in small resets builds long-term emotional resilience. Practice mindful observation of intense emotions without judgment. When anger, sadness, or anxiety arises, note its presence without labeling yourself negatively or attempting to push it away immediately. Observing emotions as transient experiences fosters acceptance and reduces internal conflict, making regulation more natural and sustainable. Create mental scripts for recurring emotional challenges. Anticipate situations that frequently trigger strong responses and plan deliberate ways to manage them. Preparing mental strategies ensures you can respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively, reinforcing confidence and emotional control in difficult circumstances. Engage in physical movement to support emotional balance. Exercise releases tension, stimulates positive neurochemicals, and provides a constructive outlet for pent-up feelings. Even short walks or stretching sessions calm the nervous system and enhance the ability to approach situations with a regulated mind. Physical alignment reinforces mental and emotional stability. Anchor responses in values and priorities. When emotions rise, connect your response to personal principles and long-term objectives. Decisions guided by values rather than immediate feelings prevent regret and maintain alignment with meaningful goals. Purpose-driven emotional regulation strengthens both character and resilience. Develop patience and practice persistence. Emotional mastery is a gradual process requiring consistent attention, practice and reflection. Each moment of conscious regulation strengthens habits, reduces reactivity, and builds confidence in managing increasingly challenging situations over time. Patience allows incremental growth to compound into lasting skill. Use journaling to capture emotional patterns and triggers. Writing down experiences provides clarity, highlights recurring stresses, and reveals opportunities for proactive strategies. Journaling reinforces reflection and creates a record of progress, serving as both a diagnostic and motivational tool for ongoing improvement. Engage in deliberate self-talk to reinforce composure, mentally guiding yourself through challenging situations with calm, constructive language supports regulation. Affirmations, or simple reminders to breathe and observe, prevent escalation and maintain clarity of thought, turning internal dialogue into a tool for stability rather than chaos. Monitor physiological cues as signals for regulation. Notice increased heart rate, shallow breathing, muscle tension, or agitation as indicators that emotions are rising. Early recognition allows timely use of breath, grounding, and reflection techniques to prevent escalation. Awareness of bodily signals strengthens the connection between mind and body in emotional management. Practice gratitude and perspective to moderate emotional intensity. Shifting focus to achievements, support systems, or long-term outcomes reduces the disproportionate impact of temporary stresses. Perspective fosters resilience and helps maintain balance even when immediate circumstances provoke strong feelings. Integrate emotional regulation into decision-making consistently, delaying reactions until emotions are observed and processed ensures choices are deliberate rather than reactive. Habitual regulation enhances judgment, reduces impulsive mistakes, and strengthens confidence in handling complex or stressful situations. Reflect on successes in managing emotions to reinforce behavior. Reviewing situations where regulation was effective consolidates learning, increases self-efficacy, and motivates continued practice. Recognition of progress builds confidence in your capacity to handle future challenges effectively. Commit to daily practice of breath, grounding, and reflection as essential life skills. Regular engagement with these techniques strengthens resilience, clarity, and mental stability, empowering you to respond intentionally rather than being driven by fleeting emotions. Over time, mastery of emotional regulation transforms both personal and professional life by creating consistent, deliberate, and constructive responses in every situation. Finally, embrace emotional regulation as an ongoing journey rather than a fixed state. Each conscious breath, grounding exercise, and moment of reflection strengthens skill, reinforces self-control, and builds a foundation for sustained personal growth. Mastery develops incrementally, and with consistent practice, emotions become allies that enhance clarity, decision-making, and the ability to create a meaningful and empowered life. Chapter 20. Sustain growth by reviewing goals, adjusting habits, and celebrating milestones. Sustaining growth requires consistent reflection, action, and celebration to ensure progress continues and momentum is maintained. Growth does not happen by accident, and without intentional review it is easy to drift off course or lose focus. Every step you take toward improvement should be measured, evaluated, and adjusted so that your habits, efforts, and goals remain aligned with your vision and values. Regular review transforms activity into meaningful progress and keeps personal development intentional rather than accidental. Start by reviewing your goals consistently to understand where you stand and what adjustments are necessary. Examine whether your objectives remain relevant, achievable, and aligned with your long-term vision. Life circumstances change, priorities and opportunities shift, making periodic reassessment essential for continued growth. Reviewing goals ensures that your energy is directed toward what truly matters, and that no effort is wasted on outdated or irrelevant objectives. Track habits to see which behaviors support your goals and which hinder progress. Daily actions accumulate over time, and even small misalignments can slow momentum. Identify routines that consistently produce results and reinforce them, while modifying or eliminating habits that do not contribute to meaningful outcomes. Awareness of habitual behavior allows for deliberate refinement and ensures consistent movement toward your vision. Celebrate milestones to reinforce motivation and acknowledge effort. Recognizing achievements, no matter the size, strengthens commitment and maintains enthusiasm for continued progress. Celebration is not indulgent, but a strategic tool that validates action, builds confidence, and encourages persistence. When milestones are observed and appreciated, growth becomes a tangible and rewarding experience rather than an abstract pursuit. Adjust strategies and tactics based on reflection and experience. Sticking rigidly to plans that do not yield results limits growth and can lead to frustration. Embrace flexibility by identifying what works, what requires change, and what new approaches can accelerate progress. Adaptive growth requires openness to experimentation and the humility to modify methods when necessary. Record insights from each period of reflection to guide future actions. Writing down lessons learned, successes, and challenges creates a reference that informs decision-making and enhances strategic thinking. Documentation ensures that knowledge gained from experience is preserved, applied, and built upon, allowing growth to compound over time. Develop a structured review process that includes both short-term and long-term perspectives. Daily or weekly check-ins help maintain focus on immediate habits and actions, while monthly or quarterly evaluations provide insight into overall trajectory. Combining micro and macro review ensures both consistency and alignment with long-term goals. Reinforce accountability by sharing progress with mentors, peers, or trusted partners. External feedback offers perspective, encouragement, and constructive critique that strengthens adherence to goals and consistency in habits. Accountability amplifies self-discipline and helps maintain momentum when motivation wanes. Focus on incremental improvement rather than perfection. Sustainable growth is built on continuous small steps that accumulate over time. Emphasize progress over flawless execution to maintain momentum, reduce discouragement, and encourage experimentation. Every adjustment, review, and milestone contributes to steady advancement. Prioritize reflection on both successes and failures. Understanding what led to achievements highlights effective strategies, while analyzing setbacks provides insight into obstacles and necessary changes. Balanced reflection ensures that learning is holistic, actionable, and directly applied to future efforts. Integrate reward systems to maintain engagement and reinforce consistent behavior. Incentives for completing tasks, achieving milestones, or demonstrating persistence create motivation and strengthen habits. Thoughtful rewards encourage continued effort and celebrate the process of growth itself. Identify and remove obstacles that slow progress. External distractions, inefficient routines, or limiting beliefs can impede momentum. Regular review highlights these barriers, allowing you to take corrective action and streamline the path toward continued advancement. Align adjustments with core values to ensure that growth is meaningful. Changes in goals or habits should reflect personal principles and long-term vision, preventing misaligned efforts that may produce results but fail to support fulfillment. Growth that is congruent with values reinforces purpose, satisfaction, and sustainable motivation. Use reflection to anticipate future challenges and plan proactive responses. Reviewing past performance uncovers patterns, potential risks, and areas requiring additional focus. Anticipation allows for deliberate preparation, minimizing setbacks and maintaining continuous forward movement. Cultivate patience and persistence as essential components of sustained growth. Transformation does not happen instantly, and long-term improvement requires consistent effort, review, and adaptation. Understanding that progress is incremental encourages resilience and prevents discouragement when immediate results are not apparent. Leverage visualization to reinforce motivation and clarity. Imagine the results of consistent growth, the habits mastered, and milestones achieved to maintain focus and inspire action. Visualization strengthens commitment and keeps attention on the desired trajectory. Develop rituals that celebrate progress regularly to embed recognition into the growth process. Rituals create a structured and predictable method for acknowledging effort, reinforcing achievement, and maintaining morale. Consistency in celebrations supports long-term engagement and motivation. Integrate feedback loops into every stage of growth. Regularly collect input from experiences, reflections, and external sources to adjust actions, refine strategies, and enhance outcomes. Feedback ensures that learning is continuous and that growth remains deliberate and adaptive. Maintain clarity on priorities to prevent overextension and burnout. Review which goals, habits, and actions have the highest impact and focus energy on those areas. Consistent prioritization ensures that efforts are meaningful and progress remains steady, efficient, and aligned with vision. Commit to lifelong reflection, adjustment, and celebration as the foundation of sustained growth. Growth is a dynamic, ongoing process, and maintaining momentum requires deliberate attention, consistent evaluation, and acknowledgement of achievements. By continuously reviewing goals, adjusting habits, and celebrating milestones, progress compounds over time, creating a life defined by purpose, resilience, and meaningful accomplishment.